in the last week, running from the heat, but the beat's coming alive. Let's get lost tonight. Lord, who's on my right?
Hello, wackos. Welcome to your Without a Country Thanksgiving week episode. My name is Corinne Fisher. How are you doing? All right. I just got back from a little long weekend upstate to celebrate Sir Alfred Hitchcock's birthday. I am still wearing all the clothing that I wore in the car because there was a lot of traffic and I got back late, and I'm not ill. I'm just not wearing makeup in case anyone was wondering. But here I am. I'm excited. There's so much interesting stuff. I was saving stories all week. So excited to do this week's episode of the show. And we wanted the Epstein files to be released. I did have a wacko suggest that we could do a special Epstein files episode to cause fights at Thanksgiving dinner. But unfortunately, we do not have that information yet. This was, it was someone had sorry, I forgot your name, but it was in my email. It was very funny. Or maybe on the Patreon, you said that release the Epstein files Thanksgiving special. Again, we can maybe hold out and do that for Christmas. Okay. So we don't have it for Thanksgiving, but perhaps we can do it for Christmas, for Hanukkah. I got to check when Hanukkah is this year. It moves all around. Those Jews. Just kidding. Oh my God. I don't even want to add to the crazy things that are the crazy misinformation about Jewish people that's spreading online in this day and age. I do have to fix my hair though. Otherwise, that's going to bother me the whole time. If you are listening to the audio version, well, that didn't affect you at all. Okay, let's get right into this episode. We're pre-taping, but like less than 24 hours in advance, just so Mike can spend Thanksgiving Eve with his wife. Look at this. This is not. It's neither a patriarchy nor a matriarchy here on Without a Country. We're really pushing equality here. If you need husband leave, we give you husband leave here on Without a Country. But yes, so we're recording. It's like 10:30 right now on Tuesday, November 25th. So if anything happens between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow, that's why it's not featured on the show. And in this world, really anything could happen. A reminder that I am doing my yearly New Year's Eve stand-up comedy show at New York Comedy Club, East Village. That's on East 4th Street in the East Village. And I don't know when tickets will be on sale, but just save the date for New Year's Eve. It'll be around like 6 p.m. It's always a pregame show. Again, stand-up comedy, classic thing to do on New Year's Eve. Like if there's any night that you are going to celebrate with stand-up comedy, I say it has to be New Year's Eve. Day that I say not to celebrate with stand-up comedy, that a lot of people do choose to celebrate with stand-up comedy, is Valentine's Day. Like if you want to spend a night with like the girls or something, Valentine's Day is fine. But like as far as taking a date, unless it's someone that you've been dating for a long time and know really well, if it's like a newer date, please do not go to a stand-up comedy show on Valentine's Day. I actually don't even put in avails, like regular avails, unless it's like a GWF show for Valentine's Day, because the energy in stand-up rooms on Valentine's Day is so bad because the stakes are so high. Everyone's so nervous. It is my least favorite day of the year to do stand-up comedy, unless it's specifically a GWF show where it's like that fan base coming. The energy is just so berserk. New Year's Eve, one of my favorite nights to do stand-up comedy. So, just a little behind the curtain, guys, in case you were wondering. All right, I'm going to do an Epstein Files update, though, while we're here, just because everyone is on the edge of their seat regarding that. This is from ABC News from today. Judge orders expedited processing of requests for records related to the Department of Justice's handling of Epstein files. The records request concern the July decision not to release the files. So the Department of Justice is facing new scrutiny over the decision to withhold the Jeffrey Epstein files earlier this year. A federal judge on Monday ordered the DOJ to expedite processing of a Freedom of Information Act request related to the Trump administration's decision in July not to release files from the investigation of Epstein, with the DOJ already facing a December 19th deadline to turn over the Epstein files as mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. The ruling could shed light on why the Trump administration reversed course on its earlier vow to release the files. And again, right now it says December 19th. Will this actually happen? We don't or will they find some other loophole that allows them to not release them? Or again, as we talked about last week, and as many people are talking about online, will the files that ultimately get released be so redacted that it is, absolutely has no information that anyone's even interested in? A joint FBI and DOJ memo in July concluded that there was no basis to revisit the disclosure of those materials and that their review did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Because I think right now what's happening is like we, the people, are on a bit of a high from things like, Zohran Mamdani's huge win here in New York, and now so many DSA members and young people in general, we're saying, well, we're going to primary everybody, come 2026. Anyone who's up for Congress, who's even said APAC, you're going down, right? And not that I don't want to dissuade, people from running in any way. I think it's good, and I think these things need to happen. But I think if you, from this one win, which I'm going to kind of assess Zohran Mamdani's win as like a misstep, honestly, like an oversight on the side of establishment Democrats. Like, they let it happen once, and they're not going to let it keep happening. And there are already, powers that be that are working OT to make sure that the DSA doesn't continue winning, and that these establishment Democrats don't keep getting knocked out of their positions. And so right now, what I think is happening again is like we, the people, just feel kind of invincible, feel very powerful, feel that if we band together and protest things, like there's nothing that can stop us. And again, I love that energy. I don't want to take the wind out of anyone's sails. I don't want to stop you from doing those things. I think we should continue doing it. But I think that the establishment is now going to be, as I said, working overtime to stop those things from happening ever again. And not that I think in any way it was like a once in a lifetime, opportunity for Zohran to win. But I do think it will be more challenging in the future, and that challengers such as Zohran will be taken more seriously in the future. Therefore, it will be harder. Because again, not to take anything away from Zohran, he ran an incredible campaign, but there was really no point in which his campaign lost momentum, because not until the very, very end did anyone even see him as a challenge, and even try to really fight back against him. So it was just him getting up momentum, him mobilizing, him kind of, because he was not seen as a threat until the very end, just being able to do like the more fun part of campaigning, which is sharing your ideas with people. And he didn't have to do a ton of the shitty part of campaigning, which is defending yourself against vicious attacks, right? Like, I know there was a handful of like Islamophobic things. That being said, it was from the people like it was just from the people who you knew it was going to come from. There wasn't anything that really knocked him off course in any way. And I think anyone who tries to run against an establishment person like Andrew Cuomo moving forward and has any, palpable momentum, they're going to dig up whatever they can on you, and it's going to be rough. Progressive legal nonprofit Democracy Forward brought the lawsuit. I'm back to the article now, if you didn't catch on. After the Justice Department constructively denied its expedited review request regarding the internal records according to the ruling, including whether Attorney General Pam Bondi misled the American people in representing that the client list was on her desk and ready for review, and whether the DOJ reversed course on the decision to disclose the Epstein matter case files out of a desire to cover up the content within. Specifically, the FOIA request sought records that might show that the reported mention of Trump's name in the files prompted the reversal. Judge Tanya Chutkin, who oversaw Trump's criminal case related to his effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election result, ruled on Monday that Democracy Forward demonstrated that their request was reasonably tailored to a matter of widespread and exceptional media interest in which there exist possible questions about the government's integrity that affect public confidence, clearing the legal bar to order expedited processing. The request for records reflecting all correspondence between Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is plainly tied to the concern discussed in the media that the Justice Department reversed its position on the disclosure of the Epstein documents only after Attorney General Bondi reportedly informed the president that his name appeared in the files, Judge Chutkin wrote, which I'm sure, like, in his heart he knew. There's no way that was a surprise to him. In the same ruling, Judge Chutkin partially denied Democracy Forward's request for records mentioning whistleblower and flight logs, concluding that those terms were overbroad, but granted the bulk of their request. Chutkin ordered both sides to file a report by December 5th to determine the next steps in the FOIA request and lawsuit. Separately, on Tuesday, today, the Department of Justice asked two judges in the Southern District of New York to authorize the release of grand jury transcripts and exhibits from the prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell ahead of the December 19th deadline for the DOJ to release the Epstein files per the Epstein Files Transparency Act. U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton, whom Attorney General Pam Bondi tapped to lead an investigation into prominent Democrats associated with Epstein, signed a motion asking the judges who oversaw the Epstein and Maxwell cases to approve the release of the grand jury materials, subject to the necessary redactions. In the light of the Act's clear mandate, the court should authorize the Department of Justice to release the grand jury transcripts and exhibits and modify any pre-existing protective orders that would otherwise prevent public disclosure by the government of materials, the disclosure of which is required by the Act, the motion said. So that's your Epstein files update. Unfortunately, cannot provide more for you. But again, we can just transition from Thanksgiving over to Christmas on those for you guys. Moving into an interesting could be worse. This one is about Ghana. Again, this all started from just something like a little tiny piece, infograph or piece of information, meme, whatever you want to call it, that popped up on my Instagram feed. And instead of just taking it in as 100% fact, I looked it up to find when this actually happened, if it was true as stated, and find a little bit more information on it. So basically, the infograph I saw said that, like, women were there was a real life witch hunt, like Salem witch trials happening in Ghana. And I go, this is up my alley in so many ways. We got witchcraft, we got human rights issue, we got women's issue. Got to look into this more. And so it is true. It is relatively recent. There's not a ton of new information about it as far as like past month. Al Jazeera did a feature on it this month called Accused, Shunned, and Exiled, the Women Banished to Ghana's Witch Camps. And that actually came out a couple days ago by Claire Thomas. And this is, kind of more like mini bios of the women who have been banished to these witch camps. But I wanted less of, a biography and more of a what the fuck is happening here. So first of all, I found this Vice article, and gosh, I know Vice sometimes is laughable because they've gone so far left, but remember, like, those of you who are my age, like millennials, know that Vice really used to do some incredibly interesting journalism that not many other outlets, if any other outlets, were doing, especially as someone like myself who's interested in, fetish and human sexuality. They did a lot of great coverage on that. And while they do some ridiculous, far left pieces that are mockable, they still have, at their soul, this really interesting, pursuit of stories that no one else is covering. And this is the case with this story. So this is by Kyle Philippi. And it's from April 15th of this year, 2025. It says, witch hunt in Ghana is endangering older women accused of witchcraft. And again, this is our could be worse for this week. Because again, like similar to what's happening in Sudan, I do feel like countries where you're seeing a lot of Black people, you are like... or not even, because I was like Sudanese Arabs are actually the biggest part, but Black people make up 30%. So maybe I want to say, like, a lot of times when it's like non-white, like no one white is involved, kind of, maybe is a better way to say it. We just don't like when the white person is neither the victim nor the villain. Those stories seemingly don't get covered at all. I guess that's a better way of saying it. And again, we've seen that with Sudan, and then I also think that's an issue here because it is like it's a really interesting, important, scary human rights issue. And even when I looked it up by topic, witchcraft, Ghana, like I wasn't getting a lot of hits, right, from major news sources. I'm talking about something this interesting. New York Times, Washington Post hasn't ran anything on it. Like, that's crazy to me. So this says there's a modern day Salem witch trial in Ghana that not many people outside of the region are aware of. A few years back, Parliament passed a bill that would have made it a criminal offense to accuse anyone of witchcraft. So literally Salem witch trials. OK, and you'll see later that people are using it in the same way they used it in Salem, Massachusetts. Basically, someone's bothering me, I'm accusing her of witchcraft. The same weaponization. That piece of legislation is still floating around, however, as it has yet to be signed. Without government action, witchcraft accusations have continued to run rampant, according to CBS News. The outlet reported findings from Amnesty International, which suggests that hundreds of people suspected of witchcraft in Ghana are now facing extreme threats that stretch as far as murder. Women are the most exposed to these faulty allegations, which usually begin to pop up after something unnatural happens, such as a tragic passing in the local community. So, I mean, it is like someone read a freaking book about Tituba and then was like, how about we do that again because women are getting on my nerves. The outlet mentioned 8 women being blamed for the death of 2 children and later forced to drink poison after it was suspected they were witches. Again, let me read that sentence again. This is happening modern times. The outlet mentioned 8 women being blamed for the death of 2 children and later forced to drink poison after it was suspected that they were witches. Okay, that's why we have could be worse on Without a Country. Listen, I know it sucks that pink leg razors cost more than black face razors, but guess what? I got a dupe for you. I got not a dupe, I got a hack for you. Just buy the face razors and use them on my legs. I mean, you know how what I do? I was at Walmart this weekend. Sorry, I was upstate. There was no other place except for these crazy expensive little boutique delis, and I almost forgot my favorite hack, which is instead of buying like $6 Gillette Silky Smooth Pink shave gel, I just buy the huge can of men. What's like the really cheap brand of face shaving cream?
Barbasol.
Yes, Barbasol. Also, I want to say I like Barbasol better than the Gillette or any of the fancy girly ones. Like, it doesn't smell as good. I don't mind a masculine smell though. But if you don't mind, it's your legs also, and who's even smelling that? Unless you get in real freaky deaky, and I guess by that time it probably would have worn off. Barbasol also, it gets so much like creamier and frothier. I think it's a better product, and it's like $2 compared to like $6.
Yo,
crazy.
Do yourself a favor, spend the $10 on a electric shaving cream heater.
Ooh.
Yo, next level. You put it in a little canister, heats up for like 5 minutes while you're in the shower.
But I shave my legs in the shower.
Oh.
I don't want to electrocute myself.
Well, then what do you even need shaving cream for? It's going to wash off in the shower. That's crazy.
Well, you put your leg away from the stream of water. You cannot shave your legs without some kind of something on it.
I shave my face without anything on it.
Oh, my God.
And it makes me feel like a real man.
All right. Witch hunt in Ghana is endangering hundreds accused of witchcraft. When these accusations are thrown around, the victim, if left alive, is typically exiled and forced to seek refuge in religious camps as their only option. Some even refer to them as witch camps. These particular areas were documented in 2024 by the Ghana Samubi Dumadi, which spotlighted the 6 such camps in the area. In documenting these exiled communities, the team discovered that many of the accused suffer more than just physical violence, but also psychological stress and are unable to forget the trauma. Yeah, I would think so. I would think being exiled from your community because everyone says you're a witch who killed children with your mind. I would say that would give you some PTSD. Other incidents of public stoning and even lynching have taken place as a result of witchcraft accusations in Ghana and surrounding West African countries. This is why advocates are urging the government to act quick and sign the aforementioned piece of legislation into law before these incidents continue to intensify. If not, marginalized individuals will continue to fall victim to these threats, which stem from social tensions, traditional beliefs, and a lack of education. The bill's fate is unknown at this point, but Amnesty is continuing to push the envelope to get it signed sooner rather than later. Amnesty International, we actually go to that website a lot for this show, and they do have a whole piece on it too. Again, when you Google this, one of the few pieces that is not just like a blip on social media that actually comes up about these Ghana witch trials. This is also from April of 2025, the last time it was updated. But on amnesty.org, it says, Ghana, hundreds accused of witchcraft urgently need protection and reparation. The Ghanaian authorities have failed to protect and fulfill the human rights of hundreds of victims of witchcraft accusations and ritual attacks that force them to flee their communities, fearing for their lives. Let's see. And it says, branded for life, how witchcraft accusations led to human rights violations of hundreds of women in North Ghana. Documents the situation. Now, is this a film or a thing? I gotta watch this. Documents the situation across 4 informal camps where accused people, primarily older women, are currently living with insufficient access to health services, food, safe housing, clean water, and economic opportunities. Oh my God. This is so crazy. Let's see. I'm trying to scroll through information. Yeah, okay. Read these quotes, guys, or I'm going to read them to you. My quote, my neighbor said he dreamt that I was trying to kill him. He doesn't want me in the community. That's why he accused me, said Fauza, the resident of the Ganani camp, and these names are changed, obviously, for the safety of these people. I refused for the village chief to marry any of my daughters. One day, a child got sick in the community, and the chief accused me, said Fatma, resident of the Kukoo Kukwo camp. Another resident of the Kukwo camp, about 60 years old, said they always have plans of putting allegations against you, especially if you are hardworking and are still strong and doing well as a woman. This is crazy. I mean, so even like the stories, like I dreamt that they were trying to kill me. Even the stories are just a page out of the book of the Salem witch trials. It says witchcraft accusations and ritual attacks must be criminalized. The testimonies point to the state's failure to establish an environment conducive to criminal investigations and prosecutions of witchcraft-related attacks. This, in turn, contributes to the recurrence of accusations and related abuses. By not providing a specific legal framework to address this harmful practice, the Ghanaian authorities have failed in their duty to protect victims. I mean, oh my God. They in July 2020, they lynched a 90-year-old woman, and the Amnesty International, they were saying that there is also a coalition against witchcraft accusations that exists, which is like a crazy thing to have to exist in this century. It says root causes must also be addressed. The belief in witchcraft is entrenched in several communities. Criminalizing witchcraft accusations alone would not resolve the issue. While some sensitization initiatives have been conducted by NGOs and at the local government level, they are not enough to comprehensively combat stereotypes linked to witchcraft accusations. The government should establish a long-term national awareness campaign challenging cultural and social practices that discriminate against women and older people. Oh my God. We urge the adoption of a holistic approach that addresses the root causes of the abuses, including social and economic reintegration programs, along with protection and reparations to persons who suffered abuses due to an accusation. The government should establish a properly resourced, long-term national awareness campaign. Oh my God. And this report is based on research conducted between July 2023 and January 2025. The organization interviewed 93 people accused of witchcraft living in 4 camps, including 82 women, most of them aged 50 to 90. As part of Amnesty International's campaign, discussions were held in early February 2025 with the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection. They expressed interest in the reintroduction in Parliament of the private member's bill to criminalize witchcraft accusations and to protect victims of witchcraft accusations. The bill was reintroduced shortly afterwards. I mean, all I gotta say is no one tell Trump about this because it's just going to give him an idea. No one tell MAGA about this because you know what they're going to see? They're going to see, great idea, let's bring this back. And especially with the rise of Christian nationalism, I have this one like Black Craft shirt that has a pentagram on it. I have a lot. I mean, I'm me. I have a lot of clothing with pentagrams on it. I'm like, I could be wearing one right now. No, this is Corelle's brand, so this is different. It does have devil horns on it, though, I believe, on this one, right? Yeah. Fun. I mean, I 100% could see witchcraft accusations coming around, and people do still like have these really archaic views about like what a pentagram means. Meanwhile, very comfortable with swastikas. Just want to remind everyone of that. Very comfortable with swastikas. Okay, moving on to our Patreons this week. All hail, of course, our wonderful dictator, Christopher Fungi. Thank you so much. Great dictator. We appreciate you. Hello to my capitalist pigs. I hope you are doing well, enjoying all the luxuries of life. Hello to my cuties. How you doing? And let's welcome our new cutie, Sammy Scissors. Doubting that's the person's real name, but hi, Sammy Scissors. Welcome to the Without a Country Patreon. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you guys want to treat yourself to a holiday gift, if you want to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/withoutacountry and you can become a member for as little as $6 a month, and you will get an additional video news story every single week uploaded to the Patreon. And you, of course, will get my undying gratitude. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for making this show run We appreciate you. And then I was thinking, I was like, yeah, because of the Patreon, you guys don't have to listen to crazy like bong ads every week. Whatever kind of Kush CBD, put a joint in a sock and smoke it through your butthole or whatever the hell I used to do. So that I just realized like that's a great perk also. All right. Oh God, there's so much stuff that I saw online this week that I was like, didn't even know that was happening. So another thing that I didn't know was happening was I saw the Free Press. I put this emailed this article to my inbox that said, like, you know, conversion therapy still exists, but it shouldn't. And I guess I just hadn't really thought about it in a long time. And I thought like we kind of weren't doing conversion therapy anymore, but apparently we are, because Colorado had to outlaw it. And there's currently a Supreme Court case where someone is trying to challenge Colorado's outlawing of conversion therapy because she, as a mental health professional, says it encroaches on her free speech, I believe, if I absorbed this article correctly. So, you know, again, this is why stuff like this, when I come across stuff like this, that is like actually like important to know about. And this is a decision like right now they're hearing, I believe the Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments on this, and they won't be making a decision until summer of 2026. And at any given time, there's a lot of crazy stuff at the table in the Supreme Court. This particularly frightening. And this is my problem with, you know, when some kind of not really meaningful story ends up consuming us all, you know, like, you know, Sydney Sweeney's Good Jeans ad, which just ultimately, I'm sure, sold more jeans or got Sydney Sweeney more roles. I know her wrestling movie tanked or whatever, but maybe
boxing, Jesus.
Boxing, sorry, whatever. Her nonsense. I heard her nonsense movie.
It's a nonsense. She's telling a story of a strong woman.
I know she is, but it's like
the kind of thing that they would tell her not to do.
Well, I know, but it's like, why would you, like, it just makes no sense. Like, why would you cast her in that role? Because the kind of people who are going to want to see that movie aren't going to want to see a Sydney Sweeney movie. Like, just use your brain for 10 seconds.
Who's going to want to see that movie?
Like, you know, women like me. And I actually don't care. I would happily see a Sydney Sweeney movie, and I'm actually kind of interested in seeing that movie, to be honest. I like seeing like biopics of women I wasn't aware of. But that overall, you're going to need someone who leans a little more lesbian.
I mean,
maybe.
A
little more feminist, a little more...
I don't know, dude. The Rock just made a biopic about an MMA fighter that similarly bombed, and he didn't get half the grief that she did.
I didn't even hear about
The Smashing Machine?
Didn't even hear about
I mean,
that
it was like, it was supposed to be the movie that like won The Rock an Oscar. And it's one of those where if it came out on Netflix, it would have been fine. It would have been well received and well reviewed. And because it bombed at the box office, that is leading every conversation.
Well, it's so interesting because this weekend I watched Roofman, which...
That movie ruled.
Okay, but I didn't hear about it. Like, literally, I found out about it from like just like Googling like movies in the vein of something that I wanted to watch. It was really interesting movie. Roofman, it's about a guy who committed all these kind of interesting robberies, like by going through the roofs. He lived in a Toys R Us for a long time. Like, just a very interesting movie. I didn't hear about it at all, and just like kind of found it online. And Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst are in it. So it's like big actors. Peter Dinklage, like
the Dink.
Yeah, it's a big.
Well, no, I remember. So I don't know about you. I watch like Alex and I have a like quarterly tradition where we'll just sit down and watch like trailers for movies that are coming up.
Okay.
And I have like a pretty crazy good memory for like, oh yeah, I saw a trailer for that. That looks good. So I was super excited to see it, but I didn't know it was going to be in theaters or if it even was. I assumed like, oh yeah, that'll go straight to Amazon or whatever streaming service paid for it.
Right.
Like unless it's a superhero kind of, big budget action movie, I assume all those movies are going to some streamer that I've never heard of or don't have access to, and I'll just wait until it hits one of the ones that I do.
I know. Oh, they do. I mean, everything that's on in the theaters like ends up on streaming now in like 2 weeks. I also watched Frankenstein over the weekend. Oh my God, that was so good, but so sad. It's really great. But and again, also, if you're looking for a book to read, like if you're looking for a classic book to read and you love kind of, like the energy of like an Edward Scissorhands, but like the OG Edward Scissorhands, the same kind of like, I don't belong, I am a creature that can, find no home. Highly recommend reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley, interesting, iconic feminist. So learn more about her. But Frankenstein, truly one of the classics that is one of the best books I've ever read and engaging read. I think like a fun holiday read. I don't know. Like I just highly recommend reading that. Anyway, all right. Let's get back to this conversion therapy thing, because I was just like, what are we even, there's sometimes you hear a phrase and you're like, oh, I thought we weren't even going to talking about that anymore. But the fact that the Free Press was like really worried about it, that's not good. So I went to the trevorproject.org, and it's Chiles v. Salazar. Maybe it's Childs, I'm guessing. Childs v. Salazar, what you need to know about the U.S. Supreme Court case on conversion therapy. This blog was written on August 25th, 2025. So in March 2025, the Supreme Court of the United States announced that they would hear a case on the topic of conversion therapy, the dangerous, discredited practice that attempts to change a young person's sexuality or gender, which I'm glad they explained it, because I forgot that some of you guys listening might be so young that you might not even know what the heck conversion therapy is. And honestly, bless. I'm glad that you live in a world that you don't know what that is. But I actually have friends my age. One friend in particular, we did an episode of GWF with him, Alistair Williams, and he talks about how he went to conversion therapy. Basically, I don't want to misspeak for him. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And like, he might not be gay now. I mean, I don't know. Listen to the episode. Sorry. Allegedly. Sorry if that's not true, Alistair. Tell your own story. I don't mean to slander your name. I believe, if my memory serves me right, that was a while ago, but it's an interesting episode nonetheless. So what is Childs v. Salazar about? In this case, the justices will hear a challenge to a current Colorado state law. This law protects youth under the age of 18 from being subjected to conversion therapy by licensed mental health professionals. The petitioner in this case is Kaylee Childs. Childs is a mental health counselor in Colorado who filed a lawsuit against the state of Colorado, claiming that the law in question infringes on her freedom of speech. The respondent in this case is Patty Salazar, the executive director of the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies, and she is representing the state of Colorado. Colorado maintains this law is a legitimate regulation of a specific healthcare treatment and protects kids in the state from abusive practices that are proven to cause harm, including increasing depression, anxiety, and suicide risk. And I gotta look up Kaylee Childs. Of course, her name is Kaylee, someone in Colorado who's a mental health counselor, in quotes. She has a 4.1 on Google reviews, which is way too high for a therapist who is currently in a Supreme Court case about conversion therapy. I mean, podcasters took down Joey Rose's sandwich shop, when they disagree with something DeRosa said on a podcast faster than that. What are you saying, Mike? That you want to write a good Google review for Kaylee?
I think the Google review system is sacred, and I don't think you should be sending an army of wackos.
I did not say that.
You just said I can't. It's too high. Something must be done about it. Someone should write a book about her Google review.
Okay, number one. I did not say someone should do something about it. I did say that's crazy that she's someone who is involved in a Supreme Court case about conversion therapy has a 4.1. I do think that's crazy. I am not saying to do anything about that through Google reviews. And
like John Hinckley, I can read through the lines and I get what you're telling us to do.
I really wasn't, because you know what? You know what would happen? That would 100%. What's the word? That would end up making her more popular as a therapist, because if we all went and left her a bad Google review, then that would just mobilize the MAGA army. And we know as liberals, the MAGA army has a lot more time on their hands to do shit like that than we. You know, we're going to Pilates, we're drinking matcha lattes. We don't stay with things long enough on the left. So I would say don't pay her any attention right now. I just wanted you to know about this. One person just writes, not a real therapist, but yeah, like not very many negative reviews. A 4.1 is crazy. I was more interested in looking at her website. Okay. Wow. This is okay, guys. So it's thedeeperstories.com/about/Kaylee. It says Deeper Stories Counseling. It says Kaylee L. Childs, MALPCLAC. The quote under her picture. She looks. First of all, what's throwing me off is she looks liberal as hell, okay? She has like a printed animal button down on. She has some kind of weird bracelet that looks like she's into New Age spirituality. She has dark hair and bangs, okay? And regular style makeup. This woman, I would say she's appropriating liberal culture, if anything. It does say faith on the top, so you know anytime counseling and faith are intertwined, we're already in rocky territory. And that's not to take away from faith or counseling. I just think that when you are getting mental health that has faith intertwined into it, and I'm talking tarot, witchcraft, any of those things, that is separate from mental health, and that should not be like your therapist should not be doing that. Like, I literally have a joke about how when my therapist tried to combine like New Age spirituality and mental health, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, I have a joke about that. So I stand by this. Let's see. Wow. So scholarships are available.
I don't trust the eyes.
Request. She can provide Christian counseling or counseling that integrates faith upon request. That right there is a nice way of saying I do. I want to see if it says conversion therapy anywhere in here.
By the way, I think I got to the bottom of this.
What?
You're telling me that husband was always straight?
Oh, wait. Where is that? Where am I going? Is that at the bottom?
I don't know. It's on Alliance Defending Freedom, Kaylee Childs' story.
Oh, so she converted her. Oh, she converted a gay man she knew to marry her.
I'm just saying.
She's cute. She didn't need to do that.
I don't know. The eyes tell me something.
Oh, boy.
It's a real problem.
All right. And there's a lot of books that are like recommended on trauma. Wow. Trauma proofing your kids. I don't think that's really possible, but okay. Let me see any of the other weird books. Let me see if I'm familiar with any of these books that I don't read a lot of books like this, but I have a lot of friends who do. One that's alarming is Faithful Feelings, Rethinking Emotion in the New Testament. Okay. Let's see. The other ones look. Oh, Hold Me Tight. She recommends that one. I've recommended Hold Me Tight. That's a good one. All right, that's the only one I'm familiar with. The attachment ones, Wired for Love. Yeah, I'm actually not even. And then some of these are on parenting, so I don't know. I'm not familiar with any of these. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I'm sure some of these books are good. I don't want to like say that all the books that she
If she's currently involved, well, I mean, at least one of them is good that you know. So, but I'm saying if she's currently involved in a Supreme Court case, we probably couldn't get her on the show, right?
I don't know. I'm just like
This is someone who I think would be very interesting to talk to and see
Right.
if their BS holds up over, 15 minutes of conversation about it.
Right. And again, like I've been thinking a lot about platforming people with, for lack of a better word, crazy ideas. And, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I really am even more passionate about this because so many people on the left didn't know who he was. And that didn't make him less famous or less influential. It just made us like completely in the dark about his influence. And if someone has to become so, powerful enough that they get assassinated for the left to know who he is, I think the left isn't doing our, defense homework, basically. And so, that's what I think as far as platforming, and especially platforming someone like this for you guys who I know you are not all left leaning, and I welcome that. I think that's important. We have Mike in the booth who isn't, but and that's what this show is about. But hopefully you're not believing stuff that is just like, is not evidence based in any way, right? So even if you have maybe a more conservative viewpoint or a more liberal viewpoint, you're not so far left or so far right that you're dwelling in an area that stops using any kind of factual information and completely goes on feelings or faith or anti-faith or anti-establishment or whatever it is. All right, and then I'm going back to this Trevor Project. What is conversion therapy? Conversion therapy refers to practices that seek to change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. Despite their name, these practices are in no way legitimate therapy and lack any standards or basis in evidence. These unscientific practices are rooted in outdated ideas that LGBTQ plus people are unnatural or need to be cured. Historically, these practices have involved behavior modification and painful aversive treatments, as well as discredited psychoanalytic theories, such as the claim that being gay is caused by faulty parenting, trauma, or abuse. So it actually makes sense right now that people would be perhaps going towards something like conversion therapy. Because although I think like the stigma around being gay has really subsided, I would say nationwide, what hasn't is the stigma against being transgender, right? And so here we talk about sexual orientation, but also gender identity. So initially when we were talking, years ago, when conversion therapy was first being discussed, being transgender, just like, of course it existed in certain cultures, but it wasn't something like, that was being talked about, in front of closed doors enough that we needed to talk about therapy to like heal or undo it. So right now, we have, transgender people under a microscope. So that would be breeding grounds for more people to try and offer conversion therapy. And then also our obsession, especially young people's obsession with, bad parents, problematic childhoods, trauma, and abuse. And again, it's great that those things are being talked about, but they're being talked about it now that it's like obsessive. Everyone's going back and like overanalyzing their childhood. And I gotta be honest, and sometimes I think, finding like trauma where there was none. I gotta be honest, finding trauma where there was none, or finding like, or faulting our parents for things that were like, like no parenting experiences or childhood experience is going to be perfect. And like, it's like, overall, do you think your parents did the best that they could do with the tools that they had? And are we, is there anything truly to blame them for? Or do we all come out of childhood like a bit unscathed? And I'm not talking about people who had abusive childhoods mentally or physically or have real issues. Obviously they exist, but like it's, when I was a kid, it's like there was like 2 kids who had problems at home, and now it's like seemingly when I'm as a 40-year-old, everyone had a bad childhood, and I do feel like it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And I know people are gonna get mad. Corinne, you had a good childhood. You don't understand. Okay, well, listen. The rest of it's not been great. So I'm making up for it now. What does the current Colorado law say about conversion therapy? Colorado's law is similar to more than 20 other state laws that very narrowly and specifically prohibit state-licensed mental health professionals from attempting to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. Importantly, this law does not apply to non-licensed religious counselors. It also very clearly includes a clause that allows therapists to help young people explore their sexual orientation or gender identity ethically. This is an important distinction. By law, state-licensed therapists are already allowed to help youth explore their identity. They cannot, however, pressure children toward a specific outcome, example, promising a gay person that after counseling, they will, quote, no longer be gay. This is so fucking crazy.
What do you think is more morally reprehensible? Offering this as like an above board, we're actually trying to help you with your being gay problem,
right?
Or the lady who was doing porn recovery therapy who started an OnlyFans.
Porn recovery therapy? What do you mean? She was teaching classes about it?
Yes, she was doing like one-on-one private consultations about like an unlicensed. There's no actual like licensed therapy for this, similar to conversion therapy. Licensed.
I think this is worse because like this is dealing mostly with young people.
Okay, fair enough. And then also like parents could force this on a kid,
right?
Versus
and also like what poor like maybe the lady was just so inspired by the adult actors that she was like, you know what? Maybe I'm in the wrong.
No,
she was just trying to get people out of the adult and entertainment industry, so there was less competition.
No,
like what was
she wanted like the people were addicted to porn,
right? And
signed up for her recovery class.
Oh, so it was like men, and then she had a built-in audience.
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Let's have her on the show. That's an entrepreneur right there.
All right, fair. That's less morally reprehensible to you.
Yeah,
all right,
come on. You're gonna take a class from some hot chick telling you not to watch porn. That's actually a genius scheme, and I'm so proud of a woman for thinking so in such an ugly manner like a man to continue to weaponize men's blind sexuality against them. That's amazing.
I mean, look, I think it probably did ruin a marriage or two.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, how do you explain that? Like, honey, I'm seeing this woman for porn therapy, and then she catches you like on her OnlyFans. It's like, dude, yeah, that's divorce central.
Oh my God.
But you take what you get, I guess.
Oh my God. Okay. Let me finish this. There's so much coming up here. All right. So it's not just the medical and mental health experts that support Colorado's law. Protections against conversion therapy have broad bipartisan religious and public support too. Laws that protect young people from conversion therapy, like Colorado's law, have broad bipartisan and religious support. Since 2012, Republican legislators have supported bans on conversion therapy introduced into legislatures all across the United States more than 1,000 times. Many religious groups continue to express support for banning these dangerous practices, with nearly 400 religious leaders across the globe calling to end conversion therapy worldwide in 2020. In recent years, dozens of former ex-gay movement leaders and founders of conversion therapy programs have publicly denounced these practices too. A majority of Americans reject conversion therapy and support efforts to protect LGBTQ plus youth from its harms. 56% of adults in the U.S. think conversion therapy should be illegal to use on minors. What will happen next with Childs v. Salazar? This is not the first time laws protecting youth from conversion therapy have been challenged in court. In nearly every case, the laws have been upheld as constitutional, and the Supreme Court has actually declined appeals of cases that allowed bans to continue several times. While no one can predict how the justices will rule, the outcome of this decision will have significant impacts on the health and safety of LGBTQ plus young people across the United States. If Colorado's law is upheld, Colorado and other states will remain free to exercise their traditional legal authority to regulate medical and mental health care to protect minors from ineffective and harmful practices. And so let me look and see like how many U.S. states still legally allow conversion therapy. Let's see. Take it on. All right, so 27 states have banned it, and including Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. That's crazy, though. So it's not prohibited in like 23 states. This includes 18 states with no state. So yeah, it's there's still a lot of places where you can get conversion therapy. So just like beware. This is kind of like if you're going to get an abortion, make sure you're not accidentally walking into one of those fake abortion clinics that's actually a religious institution. Make sure if you're going to a therapist that it's not someone who is doing faith-based counseling, unless that is what you're looking for. Again, even if you like, I am not anti-faith, actually. But I don't even think that's connected, but I just did the Hail Satan. But I just don't think that faith and mental health are like to be mixed. They are both different tiers of your life, but just, proceed with caution. Okay. Let's move on to, oh my gosh. All right. So this is another article that I thought was really interesting reporting from the Free Press. A lot of people, and we talk about it a lot on this show, ChatGPT. It's crazy. Some people are like, we can't even talk about it. They get so angry about it. Anytime AI is even mentioned, they fly off the handle. You guys, if you've been a regular listener to this show, you know my feelings on it. It's happening. We got to talk about it. I am not saying AI is great for everything, but I think to live in fear in it is to set yourself up for a life in the very near future where you are going to be eviscerated in the workplace if you're not at least familiar with it. And that doesn't mean that if you feel like you need to fight against it on a moral or ethical level that you can't. Of course you can. That's your choice. But to just deny its existence and to get angry at anyone who even brings it up, I think is not the move. I just think it's not the move. So this week on Free Press, they were talking about this apparently viral prompt that people were giving to ChatGPT about if they were the devil. And I thought this was so weird. And I put in the exact prompt. So it says it was a viral trend to put in the prompt to ChatGPT. If you were the devil, how would you destroy the next generation without them even knowing it? And it goes on, into this article about how it talks a lot about distracting them with social media and things that are important. But here I wanted to, I'm sure it's not standard, but I figured it was pretty similar. And so I put the prompt in to ChatGPT. And I wanted to read this to you, and I thought this was very interesting. I can answer this. This is ChatGPT from here on in. I can answer this safely, but I'm going to give but I'm not going to give a how to harm people blueprint. Instead, I can frame it as a metaphor. What forces, cultural, economic, and psychological, could damage a generation without them realizing it? The kinds of things people often attribute to a devilish influence. Here's a safe, truthful, non-literal version of the answer. If I were metaphorical the devil, here's how I'd quietly undermine a generation and how people can protect themselves from exactly those forces. 1, Make them think constant distraction is normal. Overstimulated brains lead to shallow thinking, lead to people losing the ability to focus long enough to understand complex issues. The defense is intentional boredom, unplugging, and long-form reading. That's the defense on how you can fight that, obviously. And I mean, if that first sentence right out of the gates is so true. Overstimulated brains lead to shallow thinking, leading to people losing the ability to focus long enough to understand complex issues. Yeah. I mean, i.e. environmental issues. No one's reading about that. 2, convince them that outrage equals participation. I love that one. That's one that we've talked about, maybe not in those specific words on here, but, social media has bred multiple generations of people who think that being very angry and very loud about something, most times, let's be honest, to a group of people who feel the same way as you do, or a very small group of people that only consists of people who know you in real life, so you're making literally no impact, is somehow participating in society, which is why, I'm all good with being outraged, but you must then do something with that outrage. A lot of times I think I would call this phenomenon tote bag activism, I think is what I've referred to it, in the past on here. And I am not for that, all right? No one needs your fucking downtown cool girl t-shirt, with the name of whatever thing you gave $10 to. Like, stop. Like, just let the company keep the t-shirt, and then you donated $20 instead of $30. $20 instead of $10, right? So this says, get people addicted to reacting online instead of taking meaningful action. The defense to this is real-world community engagement beyond social media. Again, we talk about that on this show all the time. That's been a huge problem that I've had with online activism. 3, blur the line between truth and opinion. If no one trusts anything, people become manipulable. I didn't even know manipulable was a word until now, but now I know. Confusion is a more powerful weapon than lies. And again, we see this so much. I mean, this right here is like, I think how Donald Trump won the election, right? No one create this distrust. There's also, it's not included in today's episode because we've talked about it ad nauseum. But someone, I think it was Washington Post or New York Times. But anyway, one of the writers did an op-ed on how they went to some kind of medical convention, and it was talking about how someone really anti-vaccine was just given this high-ranking position in the CDC, and it was all about how modern medicine is really in trouble. And it's because we now feel like we can't trust anything. And listen, my participation in municipal politics certainly did not make me have more of a trust in the government or things that we are told. But that's why it's more important than ever to know that a lot of the information we are being given from mainstream news sources is in fact true, but we need to know as readers how to properly engage and also read between the lines, right? So it's not so much that these mainstream news sources are giving us misinformation, but it's that we need to do additional research. I can hear you breathing, Mike. So let's see. And the defense for this is media literacy and verifying before believing. Again, 2 tenets of this show. So again, guys, wow, by listening to Without a Country, you are actually fighting the devil. Who thought a Corinne Fisher hosted show would be at its core without even trying, apparently anti-Satan? And I gotta be honest, I had this was one of the first things I added to the show earlier today. And when I put on this devil hoodie, I just put it on because it's comfy and it's raining out. But how perfect, right? The devil that you know. 4, make them believe they're alone. Isolated people are easier to control, demoralize, and radicalize. And now when this specifically, when we talk about the loneliness epidemic among young men, even though as feminists, we kind of go, haha, well, no wonder you're alone because you've treated us so badly. Yes, that is true. But also in that isolation, they are not stagnant, unfortunately. The less time they spend fucking, the more time they have to listen to Nick Fuentes. Print it up, put it on merch, put it in your stocking, right? And the defense for this, how do we defend ourselves against this? Friendships, community, and real conversations. I mean, hopefully not friendships with other people listening to Nick Fuentes, but here we are. 5, turn self-worth into a numbers game. Followers, likes, and views lead to anxiety, emptiness, dysmorphia. The defense, identity rooted in values and purpose. So obviously, this is something that I have to work with a lot, being in the entertainment business. Perhaps this is not how I think of my existential crisis, the root of it, because even though I know that I have to, gain followers to get booked at clubs and to sell tickets, so it is always semi-important to me. It doesn't actually give me any meaning. And that, I've been very vocal about how, that's one of the reasons that I got, in the past 5+ years more involved in politics, is because I was just searching for, ways to make more concrete change in the world around me. And so often, I think when I'm surrounded by other people in the entertainment business, we have all convinced ourselves that what we're doing is just the most important thing you can do. And I still value art so much, and it was a core part of my political platform. And especially living in New York City, I think that we don't appreciate real art. And again, I'm sorry, content, I guess, is art. You can't shy away from it the same way you guys can't shy away from ChatGPT. I can't say that content is not art. It's just not art that I respond to, I guess, is the way that I can say it. And sometimes I do, but I just a lot of times I go, it's not I gotta be honest, I've never watched a funny reel and been I'm gonna go out and do something with my life, whereas I have read books. Multiple books. I mean, So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Bronson, or When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. These are books that have, changed me on a cellular level. And movies, Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine. So a lot of nonfiction, really, mostly, but I'm sure fiction can change your world or inspire you to do something in a new way. There's just nothing no content that I've seen yet.
I saw Fast 6 and fishtailed out of the parking lot.
Fast and Furious.
Fast Furious 6.
Yeah. So I mean, again, and I'm not saying that content will not one day exist. And there are certainly pieces of conversations or podcasts that I see online that, change the way I think. But the short form content has not yet. And again, I don't want to say that it never will. And if that's something that you enjoy doing, good. It's just not, it's just been an internal struggle for me. So 6, reward passivity and punish resilience. Convince people that discomfort is dangerous rather than a part of growth. And so that's a great thing to remember this Thanksgiving. Perhaps not talking to your family members who think differently from you politically. Perhaps that's actually exactly what the establishment wants. Perhaps that's exactly what the devil wants. Perhaps us all becoming enemies, with one another is exactly what they were looking to happen. Saying that you can't sit at a dinner table with someone who is going to spew things that you don't agree with at your face, and that you will have to confront them to get through dinner. Perhaps, I don't know. Again, I'm just presenting things to think about in a new way, right? The defense is healthy stress, self-discipline, and creativity. And I love that it's even bringing up healthy stress as a possible thing. If you are leading a stress-free life, methinks you're not really doing anything challenging. I gotta be honest. And again, this is all ChatGPT. So just as much as we take nothing on this show as gospel, we also don't take this as gospel. This is just what, if you asked it, if it was going to turn into the devil, what it would do. And I thought this was very interesting. Number 7, make everything about identity and nothing about ideas. Again, what do we talk about all the time on the show? Identity politics. If everyone feels personally attacked all the time, no one can build coalitions or solve shared problems. Wow, that one cuts deep. The defense is curiosity, complexity, and nuance. 8, replace purpose with consumption. So shopping, scrolling, dopamine chasing keeps people numb and directionless. And that's one thing I hate about social media is that, like, right, you'll scroll and you think like, oh, I'm scrolling, I'm getting so many ideas. I'm getting like this really wide view of what people all over the world are doing. But then you just keep cycling in that kind of brainstorming part of the creative process, and you never get to the creative part of the creative process. And I am guilty of that because I'll be scrolling, I'll be like, oh, I got this idea. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, this reminds me of this thing. Or what if I took this idea and tweaked it in this way? And then so just pick one fucking idea and get offline and do that idea. Really. That's to me and to you. And the defense is meaning-making, service, and creativity. Because again, it gets the dopamine going. So you're like excited. You have all these ideas. You're saving things. You have folders. You have 1,000 trips you want to go on. You have 50 gifts that you want to get people. You have a small business that you want to start. Are you on cocaine or are you on Instagram? What's going on? Like even this weekend when I took my dog, hiking for a bunch of days for his birthday in the woods. He loves hiking. This guy, I have a 17-pound dog. This dog making me look like a fool. This dog went on a 5-mile hike, leaving me in the dust, going up mountains, such a good boy, never like more than like 50 feet ahead of me. I could always see him. And then waiting for me, doing laps in the trees. Crazy. He's like, this is like, you would look at this dog and like think this is like a little lap dog. No, this man is an athlete. This dog man is an athlete. The counterpoint, because I always ask ChatGPT to include a counterpoint in all my prompt when I ask or I present a prompt. It says you could argue none of these things require a devil at all. They're just the natural byproducts of unchecked technology, corporate incentives, political polarization, capitalism rewarding attention over wisdom, and a society that overemphasizes individualism. In other words, the devil doesn't have to destroy anyone. People will drift towards self-destruction when the system incentivizes it. So there you go. And, of course, Free Press wrote a whole article about it if you want to read that. But I thought we could just go over it ourselves. And again, like, it's not to toot our own horns over here, but I truly think that a lot of the work and the conversations we're having on this show really act as an antidote to all these things. And I think most of us are guilty of at least some things on that list, right? I certainly am. But if we're aware of it and we just keep using self-discipline to get out of these loops, there is hope for us yet. Is there hope for Marjorie Taylor Greene, though? Guys, that's my transition. She's out. Our woman of the moment announced that she is out. She's leaving Congress. I immediately was like, Donald Trump must have threatened her, and to a point where she's like can't do it anymore, because she has been going on quite the press tour, speaking ill of the MAGA universe, and coming out as damn near liberal in many interviews. And again, we love her. I love a bitch. I talk about on stage how she is my favorite politician right now, because she is neither on the left nor the right. She is just a 100% crazy bitch, and I love that for her. And that I think every political party needs a crazy bitch. And she was ours, but I guess she got too crazy because there must have been some threats, because she is making an exit, and there's just no reason this makes sense to me. Anyway, this is from The Hill. Marjorie Taylor Greene's exit from Congress could spell trouble for Speaker Johnson. So Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's Republican Georgia, and don't worry, there's a long list of people who are already for that seat who are already announced that they're running. Stunning decision to resign from Congress sets off a political grenade for Speaker Mike Johnson as he works to keep his grip on an already delicate GOP majority in the House. Greene's decision comes at a pivotal moment for Johnson, who is counting on every Republican vote to pass key funding bills by the end of January to avert another costly government shutdown. It also comes as he's looking to advance other measures central to President Trump's agenda. Greene's resignation on its own doesn't change how many votes Johnson can afford to lose on any party line vote. The GOP's 2019 to 2013 majority means he can afford to lose 2 Republican votes on any legislation, assuming that all members are present and Democrats are unified in opposition. And that calculus is not expected to change much in the weeks ahead. Republicans are favored to win the Tennessee special election to fill the seat vacated by former Representative Mark Green on December 2nd. I'm going to talk about that, I think, a little bit more. Maintaining Johnson's 2-vote cushion after Greene's departure on January 5th, which he has already announced. A January 31st Texas special election runoff that Democrats will likely prevail in also keeps that number at 2. But the Georgia Republicans' departure could nonetheless complicate things. Johnson has already struggled to unify his conference, most recently during a vote on the Jeffrey Epstein files that occurred after a small group of Republicans, including Greene, joined with Democrats to force his hand, which again, could this be it? Could, she be getting death threats based on Epstein files? We don't know, but I just think that someone must have threatened her. He's also contending with growing resistance from Republicans who have signaled that they are willing to buck him on issues related to a congressional stock trading ban and sanctions on Russia. Greene's move could embolden her colleagues to challenge the speaker on key legislation or even reconsider their own term in Congress. To be sure, Johnson has repeatedly shown he can corral his fractious conference to pass legislation in the face of strident internal opposition, including funding bills and Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Mike Johnson, as Speaker, has never known easy. He has never had a working majority during his entire tenure, said Republican strategist Brian Robinson. So it's certainly nothing new, and with such a razor-thin majority, you're going to have wins and losses. And because you still have to govern, you still have to get things done. So I think that they have to take risks that you wouldn't take if you had a majority that was in the 230s or 240s, as far as putting something on the floor that may or may not pass. But Representative Ralph Norman, Republican from South Carolina, a member of the far-right House Freedom Caucus, told The Hill that Republicans will deal with it just as they have done in the past. We have never counted on Democratic votes anyway, Norman said. So the fact that it's closer, we still have the gavel, we still have the ability to navigate the way the legislation should go and to push what President Trump is doing, which is a good thing. So would it be better to have her in there voting with us? Yes. And she has for the most part up until recently. She's gotten on opposite ends of the spectrum with the president, but on the major issues, she's been with us. But you know what? It is what it is. She made her decision based on her situation, so, we'll deal with it. So far, Congress has passed 3 full-year appropriations bills, which fund military construction, Veterans Affairs, the Department of Agriculture, and the legislative branch through September 30th. One of Johnson's biggest challenges will be passing 9 appropriations bills or a short-term stopgap measure to fund the rest of the government by January 30th. If the votes occur after Greene leaves, Johnson will have 1 fewer Republican in the chamber. He can already anticipate opposition from Representative Thomas Massie, a conservative fiscal hawk. Funding isn't the only item on Johnson's agenda, though. He told Fox News Digital last week that he wants to codify Trump's executive orders through the end of the year, continue doing regulatory reform to end the Biden-era regulations, and make headway on Trump's affordability agenda. Let's see. I'm just reading ahead a little bit. I think that's the most things that we need to know from that. I'm going to truncate that article a little bit. And MTG. Let's look at a little more information about why she might have left. Yeah, like, Trump revoked his endorsement of her. Again, there's nothing like on the... What? It's not attached. There's nothing like 100% why. But I'm telling you, there has to be some kind of a threat. Something happened that we don't know yet that will come out later. That's my assessment of the whole thing.
Sorry, what'd you say?
What?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the last line you just said.
I said I'm talking about why Marjorie Taylor Greene left.
And what's your theory?
So someone had to threaten her. Something has to be on.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, I mean, what would you like? To me, that's like the only thing that could have happened.
I mean, you bail out now so that your record is intact to keep your powder dry to run for president.
Oh, she thinks that she was going to lose, but no, people aren't going to vote for a quitter.
What are you talking about? If she leaves now, she can say, hey, I regret voting on the big, beautiful bill. I did not want to be a Republican in name only who was in Congress to just thwart them. I felt like I could do more good outside. But you know what I mean?
But then say that while you're resigning. It's just weird, I think, to not say it like when you're resigning. Like here, she put a letter, I believe, on her Instagram with like her official resignation. Let me see if that I didn't read that whole thing.
I just assume this was in my heart of hearts, what I'm really hoping for, fingers crossed, the Bernie MTG AOC ticket for 2026. Nothing would make me happier.
Oh my God.
I'm serious.
I don't think that AOC and Bernie would run with MTG, but
I don't know.
Okay, so there's her resignation letter is really long, but it is on her. It's like four sides. It's really, really long.
I like this.
She's talking about funding foreign wars, foreign aid, foreign interests. So she has a problem with that. Yes. What was your favorite part of it?
This last thing here. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me and especially my family, but my Dexter as well. I have too much self-respect, dignity, love, family. Not my seat just to.
Can you enunciate? You sound like you're drunk.
I'm a little punch drunk. I've been punched in the head a bunch over the last couple months.
Jesus.
All right, so this line here, it's all absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a quote-unquote battered wife, hoping it all gets better. I'm cast aside by MAGA Incorporated and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and elite donors that can't even relate to real Americans when then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no quote-unquote plan to save the world or insane 4D chess being played. When the common American people finally realize and understand the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that no one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington machine from gradually destroying our country. And instead, the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the power over Washington. Then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Boom. Yeah. That's what I've been waiting to hear from any sitting politician for 20 years.
So
none of these people care about you. None of them can relate to you. This is all special interest, big money, foreign money. None of this is about making the American people's lives better. When the American people finally decide to take the power back, I'll be here. I love that.
I mean, okay, so that could still be a line with the fact that she was bullied or threatened into resigning. Or what if it comes out that one of these like pharma big tech things gave her a bunch of money and they were like, stop squawking, Blondie? Because that would be so disappointing. I would be disappointed.
Like if she takes a job at the board of Pfizer after this, then yeah, this all goes out the window. But I really do think she's going to keep her. She's independently wealthy before this. I think she keeps her.
Oh, she is from what?
She had like a construction company or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. Like, again, I do stand by that. I do feel like she is a crazy bitch. We love her. She did do some good work with animal welfare. I mean, she's done a lot of bad shit too. But at least like when she was doing the bad shit, I guess like at least and this is weird, but at least like if you're gonna do bad shit, at least really believe in it. Like, I know that's a crazy perspective to have, but I've kind of always had that perspective. Like, if you're doing something like actually evil, like, I hope that in your heart, you somehow have convinced yourself that this is actually the moral right.
What on her track?
I don't think a lot of people are doing that.
What on her track record do you consider evil?
I mean,
just stumping for Trump?
No, but I mean, like, she did a lot. Like, she's a lot of like racist. Like, let's see, MTG. Her worst moment. In my head, I'm like, there's been a lot of like racist comments and weird.
I mean, if it's like if this is like the Trump beef of like not what she said but the way she's saying it, then
no.
No, like actual like.
Yeah, it's hard to. Extramarital affairs, I don't care about that. I mean,
cheated?
So like, apparently
Nice.
at a gym. So like, go. Just being dumb and like promoting QAnon and like conspiracy theories. Like, so I guess she's really guilty of misinformation because I had to refresh my memory of all the things that she did. She did blame the California wildfires on the space lasers. Did she
blame it on, or did she say, "Hey, should we look into the space lasers?"
God, stop! She was an election denier. So the racism. She was very she was trying to blame like January 6th on Black Lives Matter somehow. She has endorsed political violence against Democrats.
I don't know. Same people seem to fund both sides on that.
What? For which one?
BLM and like the
BLM is a problem, and but it's like people still use Black Lives Matter to talk about like civil rights for Black Americans in general. When like yes, we know that BLM ended up not being a reputable like organization.
Nope.
What they were fighting for still stands as extremely important.
Sure. But where did all those bricks come from?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like somebody was there was a larger coordinated effort behind a lot of the damage that was done to major cities in 2020. And it seems like
which caused more racism.
Sure. I'm not saying any of this is good. This is all tools of an oppressive regime or oppressive
like,
dark money.
Oh, look, this huge organization that is one of the biggest civil rights movements, since Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, it's violent, and then it goes back into this, narrative and negative, stereotype that when Black, Americans come together to fight for equality that they should already have. Of course, it is violent, which is just like, what? I was there. It wasn't the only people who were being violent, as usual, were the cops.
Right. I'm just saying though, it seems that like the same people who funded that, whoever was putting those bricks out, there was government funding on January 6th. Like people were paid to be there. There were paid agitators in the crowd. The January 6th report that came out this year went into detail about, how many paid plants there were. So to say that, the same people might have been paying for January 6th as paid for the riots in 2020, that's not necessarily a crazy statement.
But then, I mean, like, there's so many people who know some crazy family member who was at January 6th.
Sure, but I'm saying if you have, right, your craziest, kookiest family member, and then you have of a crowd of 5,000, 500 of those are agitators who were paid by the FBI or the Soros Foundation or whatever dark money NGO that would be in place to cause divide among the have-nots in this country. I
guess anything is possible, but like
if
ChatGPT
you agitate those people,
I said the devil is in mistrust of everything.
Okay. Well, I do mistrust anytime large groups of people show up at a place for seemingly no reason and it gets violent for seemingly no reason.
Well, what do you mean seemingly no reason? The reason was that they didn't believe that Donald Trump lost the election. There was a very apparent reason.
Right, but I'm saying it wasn't until someone from that crowd said, "Hey, let's go in the Capitol building." And the Capitol building was conveniently not manned with very little security on it. And the National Guard was refused to be called in on Washington D.C. Like all of those factors coalesce into the imagery that we saw and the large-scale government overreach that took place after January 6th. So for me to for someone to say, hey, someone, probably the same person, was funding these two acts of civil disobedience, one from the right, one from the left, to facilitate large government overreach, that doesn't seem crazy.
But Donald Trump was still president on January 6th.
So what?
So how would so I don't understand why would he want his people to appear violent?
What does Trump have to do with this?
Because it was about him not winning the election.
Yeah, Trump's a pawn is the same as the rest of them.
Oh, Trump's a pawn too. Okay, I didn't.
I mean,
so but then
if the guy can be bought for $100 million, which he was, then yes, he is a pawn.
But okay, so then who are the overlords in this scenario?
Big tech.
I hope you say APAC.
No, I was gonna lend. I was leaning more towards Soros because that's there is like a bigger history of social engineering on a domestic level.
All right, I don't have. All right, well that's our conspiracy theory for this week. But again.
Not my conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it doesn't necessarily make her racist to say that the same people funded January 6th as funded the BLM riots.
All right. Well, we wish her the best. Love and light, MTG. All right, moving on to more municipal politics, because there's some really interesting stuff going on. So this was hot news. The mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, announced that, she is also not running for re-election. So this is like our quitting segment right here. She is not running for re-election after a decade of being mayor of Washington, D.C. Obviously everyone is overjoyed because, people think that she's been doing, too much work with Donald Trump, allowing ICE to do things that they shouldn't have been able to do in D.C. And again, it's just like, I would love to know a mayor of a major city that people have been happy with for a long amount of time. I truly mean that. I don't know. It just seems like everyone ultimately becomes really unhappy with their mayor. So let's see. But people certainly seem to be rejoicing over that. And then this is out of Tennessee. We have a couple stories out of Tennessee. This first one is from Wacko Catherine. She writes, this story is from Clarksville, Tennessee, which is a military town about an hour northwest of Nashville. Clarksville is also where Allie Phillips ran for a Tennessee House seat last year after having to leave Tennessee to get a life-saving abortion. This is why you need to read about municipal politics. This is from ClarksvilleNow.com. Crossland withdraws school board resignation, says Gigolo's appearance will not define her. And again, this is why you got to be reading municipal politics articles. This is by Jordan Renfro, November 20th. One day after resigning from the school board, Teresa Crossland has now withdrawn her resignation. She also confirmed that she appeared in a Showtime episode of Gigolos, which is what prompted the resignation. Good show. You should watch that. Clarksville, Tennessee. One day after resigning from her new appointment as District 3 school board representative, just hours after being sworn in, Teresa Crossland has now withdrawn her resignation. She also confirmed to Clarksville Now that she appeared in a Showtime episode of Gigolos, and that revelation had prompted her resignation. And you got to look her up because she's all that in a bag of chips. We love Teresa. Thursday morning, Crossland submitted a formal withdrawal of her resignation to both the Montgomery County Commission and the CMCSS School Board, saying she is ready to move forward with the job after she was pressured to resign. I realized I had been set up and pressured into that decision, Crossland told Clarksville Now. I am withdrawing my resignation and I'm ready to serve. Crossland was to replace Herbert Nelson, who resigned in August. She was appointed on November 10th via a vote of the county commission selected over 3 other applicants. However, Oh my God, I love this woman. However, Crossland was not present at Tuesday's school board meeting, which was to be her first. According to CMCSS, she was sworn in on Monday, November 17th, and resigned that evening, but did not offer a reason at the time. Previously, Crossland said she was hit with a hard realization about how much was involved in accepting the position and that she wouldn't be able to give the necessary commitment. However, on Thursday, in an exclusive interview with Clarksville Now, Crossland explained that her decision to resign was fueled by panic. An anonymous call to the school district claimed that I appeared on an adult show over a decade ago, Crossland said. I panicked and believed that if I resigned, it might spare the school board and my family some embarrassment. Crossland addresses 2014 appearance on Gigolos. Gigolos is a reality TV series that follows the lives of male escorts living in Las Vegas. During the episode in question, an account executive named, quote, Jenna was in a sex scene with one of the escorts. Following the announcement of Crossland's resignation, community members began identifying Jenna as Crossland. That is true, Crossland said. That is me. I never denied it. I just didn't want to comment on it previously. She said that the scene was only acting and that she did not have sex with the actor. Crossland explained that she went on the show 13 years ago at a very low point in her life. I'd say a high point, Jenna, Teresa, whatever your real name is, but that she is able to use that low point as a way to teach and help others. I wish we would stop rebranding fun shit, okay? You didn't go on Gigolos to help others because it was a low point. You went on Gigolos because it sounded fun as fuck at the time, and Teresa, you can party, okay? And there ain't no apologies for partying. Oh my God, this next part's great. I recommitted my life to Jesus, Crossland said. If I can use this to help somebody and let them see that this is what evil caused for me by choosing to do just what my flesh wanted instead of the right thing, what God wanted me to do. Well, Teresa, I thought you were acting. Acting is just art. That's not of the flesh. And I know God didn't pick that for me to do. That was only my flesh. Can you imagine God's up in heaven, so busy, so much going on? Gaza, Sudan, witchcraft trials in Ghana. And all of a sudden he's getting a call and it's from Teresa about an episode of Gigolos from 2014. He's like, bitch, stop clogging my line.
Yo, God, sorry I fake blew that guy on that TV show that time.
Let's stop and let's talk about what accent was that? What accent was that?
Pittsburgh trash.
Oh, Teresa lives in Clarksville, Tennessee.
That's pencil. You never heard of
Take the last train to Clarksville. Great song. Okay. All right, guys, wait. Democratic Party weighs in on controversy. After news of her resignation came out on Wednesday and speculations of Crossland's guest appearance on Gigolos. I hope you're searching for this episode right now while I'm working. Otherwise, you're not even producing the show. She began to reassess her decision to resign. I'm not a politician, so I don't really know how all this stuff works, said Crossland, which is honestly the best quote from someone who was just elected. Or I don't know if a school board, maybe they were appointed by applicants. So I don't think it was like a democratic election, and that's in the sense of that in Tennessee. But it's just hilarious to say I'm not a politician, so I don't really know how all this stuff works. I love that. I love that. What's the whistle for?
She went by Jane on the show?
Jenna. Said Crossland, who is a Republican. But I am getting a clear idea now. I've lived in this community my whole life, and I stepped up to serve. Good for you, Teresa. That's what we want. She's lived in the community her whole life. Clarksville is who she is, and she wanted to step up to serve. She had the right intentions. People trying to bring her down. No, thank you. When that sensitive information came out, I didn't want to be the center of the controversy, Crossland said. So out of fear, I resigned. But now I realize I had been set up and pressured into that decision. I got to see if Teresa still has her website up running for this. I don't even know if you make a website when you're running for school board, if it's even necessary. Let me see. For school board official site, maybe? Yeah, I didn't see it. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really look like it. I can't see anything like that. I would have loved to see it. I would lean into it. I would lean into it if I was on that. When the sensitive information came out, I didn't want to be the center of the controversy. Crossland said, so out of fear, I resigned, but now I realize I had been set up and pressured into that decision. That Wednesday morning, the Montgomery County Democratic Party issued a statement on the matter. I am highly concerned with the judgment of the Montgomery County commissioners who voted along partisan lines to appoint an apparently unqualified candidate with a dubious background over a highly qualified candidate when filling an open seat, Party Chair Christine McKinney said in the statement. Sounds like Christine McKinney doesn't like fun. Let's get her on the show. And my first question is, Christine, why do you hate fun? We have been made aware of a graphic adult TV show that is suspected to be appearance that is suspected to be Ms. Crossland. Her resignation before attending a single school board meeting is highly suspicious. While our party respects privacy and the rights of consenting adults to engage in adult behavior in private, this incident, if true, sets a bad example for our youth. We would not. No, it doesn't. I think it sets a great example that says, like, yeah, 13 years ago, if you want to pursue acting and be on an adult-themed reality TV show, you can do that. And then you're still, no matter, even if she was like an active sex worker herself, she is a member of society who gets to take part in decisions that are made about the community in which she lives. So I don't care if she was one of the gigolos, if one of the gigolos themselves wanted to run. Like, gigolos are part of the community. Okay? Corinne for Congress, everyone. We would not tolerate this if a teacher or CMCSS employee were to engage in such behavior. We must hold our school board members to the same standard, McKinney said. I urge the county commissioners to make future decisions based on merit, not on the partisan political beliefs or connections of the candidates. We must always put our children first. Clarksville Now investigated the allegations but did not publish them or the Democratic Party's statement at the time because the information could not be verified. It's clear that the anonymous call was politically motivated, said Crossland. Local Democrats were pressuring me to get out of office so that they could get their preferred candidate in. It's a regular Bernie versus Hillary over in Clarksville. They waited until I swore in and then started posting everything on Facebook and different outlets. Oh my God, I love municipal politics so much, guys. Crossland seeks to keep school board seat. On Thursday morning, Crossland submitted a letter to the county commission and the school board formally withdrawing her resignation. Crossland emphasized the Democratic school board members have shown her absolute kindness, saying, I don't believe they had any involvement in what took place, and I look forward to serving with them. They have been absolutely precious to me. We all have chapters, Crossland told Clarksville Now. Mine's on full display, and I own it. I do not hide from it, and I will not allow it to define me. I'm voting for Teresa again. She said she wanted to apologize to the public for the back and forth involving her swearing in, then resignation, and now her withdrawal of the resignation. When contacted about the withdrawn resignation, CMCSS deferred to Montgomery County, stating that the school system does not have any authority over the matter. Montgomery County told Clarksville Now that the legal team is reviewing the resignation withdrawal to determine the appropriate next steps. Obsessed. Did you find it, Mike?
I found the episode. I'm currently trying to sign into Paramount Plus to bring it up because there's no clips from that episode available.
Okay, well, you keep working on that. That'll be a little treat that we hopefully get at the end of the episode. I'm going to continue talking about Tennessee right now. Because this is from Mother Jones from November 21st, the Tennessee upstart that suddenly has Trump world quaking. I've read a little bit about this, but this is one of these elections that you should be paying attention to. It says you should be paying attention to Tennessee. The congressional race in the state's 7th congressional district, which includes Nashville, is where cracks in Donald Trump's base are starting to show. Democrat Afton Bain, who I've looked at her, she got talked about a lot when there was that kind of like big Democratic winning streak a couple weeks ago, with Zohran and everyone. She's facing off against Matt Van Epps, a Republican West Point grad who had been strongly favored to win. Both parties have bombarded the state ahead of the special election on December 2nd. Trump held a telephone rally for Van Epps, and super PACs from both sides have flooded the race with money, including $1 million from one allied with Trump, according to the New York Times. This is a predominantly Republican district, Bain told me. It was drawn that way. Indeed, Republicans never intended it for it to become a battleground, but the special election has given Democratic voters in the state who are fed up with Trump's agenda an opening. So again, I know it's Thanksgiving holiday. I know December 2nd is so close. It's on Tuesday. In fact, it's literally a week from when I'm recording this. That being said, you have a wonderful opportunity if you are in this district in Tennessee, or if you are close enough in Tennessee to contact Baines, I'm reading it. So Baines is how I would say it, but it could be Baines, I guess, to contact Baines' campaign and to help her canvass, to knock on some doors. That weekend, that Thanksgiving weekend, people will probably be home with their families. Great opportunity for you guys to get off social media and again, be that change that you wish to see in the world, babies. Okay. I love that. All hands on deck anywhere we are. It's not just all about, the races that are talked about more like New York City and stuff. This is great. This is these special elections, really great opportunities. And again, this is a politician who before this article was being talked about. Let me look, because I'm like, this is one of the people that I looked up on the, races to watch when I was on my races to watch deep dive on Instagram several weeks ago. So Afton Bain, let me look at this. Oh yeah, I'm already following her. So 48,000 people follow her. And then let's look at the little Maddie Van Eppies or whatever the hell, Matt Van Epps. Okay, so Matt Van Epps. Let's look at this dickwad. Wait, this can't be. Matt Van Epps for Tennessee, 598 followers. Oh, maybe he's a Republican, so maybe he's bigger on Facebook. Anyway, I think this is his real account. How the hell does he only have 598? Guys, get out there. That's embarrassing. 598 compared to 49,000. Get out there. Help with Afton. Early voting is already happening. So if you haven't voted, make sure that you are showing up. A lot of people, will not show up to vote in a special election. Vote. Call 5 friends to vote if you are in this area. Very, very important. Let's see. Despite Tennessee being one of the lowest turnout states in the country, I know Taylor Swift got a lot of people in Tennessee registered to vote. Democratic lawmakers, sensing an opportunity during a special election that's activated voters facing an affordability crisis, have shown up big. Former Vice President Kamala Harris recently campaigned for Bain, along with Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin and Representative Jasmine Crockett. We have a state government that has inhibited the city of Nashville from addressing the rise of the cost of living, Bain said. We have a federal government that is in chaos and cannot address the cost of living. Again, that special election is December 2nd. I know I have people in Nashville. You guys know I love Nashville. So if you are listening from Nashville, or again, or if you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from Nashville, again, you have to check the rules. I think for canvassing, you're okay. Like when you're getting petition signatures in New York, at least you have to be a registered Democrat in New York. But for canvassing, you probably don't have to, because you're not doing anything, you're not taking in legal paperwork. You're just handing out stuff. And I think they can most likely take volunteers from anywhere. So again, hit up her campaign, go to the website, see how you can get involved. Even spending 4 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday canvassing could be really effective. What are people doing in Tennessee? You go to a church, stand, outside of a church. Again, there's usually legal like there's laws on like how close you can stand, but go to places that people who you think might be active voters are going to be, and canvass, get out the information. Again, call people, make sure they're voting, especially for a special election. They are banking on you not showing up to the polls. And again, doesn't make it thing. Okay. Next article is this is not even, I don't even have an article for this. This is just my enemy of the state this week, and it's so crazy because he's been the enemy of the state not that long ago, but he's back already. We thought we had rid ourselves of him. He's already back. There is a local whisper that Andrew Cuomo, we thought we had rid ourselves of him, but apparently he's going to be running for Senate to take Chuck Schumer's seat. We cannot get rid of this guy. So that is my
enemy of the state.
That is my enemy of the state. And I know a lot of people hate Chuck Schumer now, but it's like, okay, so Cuomo's running against, if Cuomo runs against Chuck Schumer, I mean, I guess I have to vote for Chuck Schumer. I can't vote for Andrew Cuomo. I mean, this doesn't really pertain to me, but like, what are we even doing here? Like,
how does it not pertain to you?
No, I know it does.
It's one of the few senatorial elections in your life that will pertain to you.
He hasn't announced it yet.
Well, but it is interesting because I was running through this with Fega the other day, and apparently no New York City mayor has ever held a higher office
than mayor?
Than mayor of New York City. No one's ever been governor of New York.
Well,
no one's ever been.
That makes sense because what I just talked about with Muriel Bowser, how every major city ultimately ends up hating their mayor.
Sure. I mean, Theorello LaGuardia was pretty like well respected and liked when he left
in modern times, though.
But I'm saying he never went on to like even governor of New York or congressman. You know, like there was there nothing. It's never happened. So I mean, if Cuomo does, how fun would it be for Zohran? Assuming Zohran does well over the first 3 years of his mayoral candidacy, because his mayorship is over the same year that Schumer's up for re-election. So let's say those policies are going so great after 3 years that he says, okay, we've got the blueprint here in New York. It's time to take this to the federal level. I'm going to fight for New York State with these same kind of changes that I've made here in New York City, and make the case and then have him go for round 3 against Cuomo. I think he could win as the sitting mayor of New York. I think he could beat Cuomo.
But Schumer's up for up in 2028. Zohran will be 2029.
I thought Schumer was up in 29.
I read earlier that it was 2028 because when I was reading like some kind of like, when is Schumer up for re-election? I read earlier that it was 2020. Yeah, it's 20. Yeah, his Senate seat is secured until 2028.
Oh, okay. So I read it as senators whose terms of service expire in 29, but it's January of 29.
And I think Zohran's going to want to try, he as long as he'll be the incumbent, he's going to want to try to be mayor for 8 years.
You think?
I think to get everything he wants to get done, 4 years is going to fly by.
I don't know. I mean,
I think if he really actually cares about New York, you need to do 2 terms.
No, I don't think anyone cares about anything in politics. I think it's all about the next step.
But I don't want to say that because just from like, I actually do care about New York, and that's literally why anytime I was talking about it, I was like, no, literally my plan was just to be mayor for 8 years and then go.
And Curtis Lewa were the only people I actually believe cared about New York.
But now, because I didn't get it, I go, do I got to run for something else? And like the point being is like to hold an office for like a small chunk of time in which you actually devote that chunk of time to doing what you said you were going to do, and then going back to whatever your life is. And like obviously, like not everyone can do that. Like I have the, a luxury of having created this other world for myself that, hopefully is malleable enough or flexible enough that you can step back to it. But I mean, even that, like, even taking the time that I took off to run for mayor, then that still did, like, it still does halt things in your other world. So, I can only imagine how long, much taking 8 years off would, do. But then I guess, like, as an artist, you try to create some piece of art that you feel like ethically, but creatively speaks to the experience that you just had without it seeming too self-indulgent, which again, that would be another tightrope to walk, because everyone would be like, look at this bitch just tried to monetize it. And you're like, well, no, she literally is an artist. That's how she pays her bills. She needs to go back to doing that. And, if we're going to monetize something, why don't we monetize being transparent to the American people and, going full Marjorie Taylor Greene and just yap. That was my plan. Hold the office for, a little under a decade and then yap about it just nonstop to the American people so everyone knows what's going on. That was 100% my plan. So we'll see. All right. Let's see. All right, going back to this. Yeah, and again, we'll see what actually happens. But last time the whisper was that Cuomo was running for mayor, and that whisper became a reality. So, of course, everyone's making the joke, this is just a guy who can't take no for an answer. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, obviously. But here we are. All right.
I liked it.
Yeah, so here's our main story for this week. Yes? Did you find Jenna? Did you not get into Paramount Plus yet?
So I would need to upgrade to Paramount Plus Premium, and I'm not doing that for this bit. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
But
I don't think I have Paramount Plus. I have almost all the streamings, but I don't have that one.
I have Paramount Plus, but it's a separate tier to get gigolos for some reason.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. It's nuts.
Teresa Crossland, do something about this.
What I was going to say is the for the Cuomo thing, that I find very shocking, because it's like the guy is so clearly like a product of establishment Democrats that like, who the hell is giving this guy the green light to primary Chuck Schumer?
Right.
Like one of two things happen there. Either the party
he's trying to, like, he Zoran Tim, so now he's trying to Zoran Chuck Schumer.
But you can't be Zoran when you have the...
You and I know that. You and I know that, Mike. But Andrew Cuomo still sees himself as like the cool guy. And in his head, he goes, well, compared to Chuck Schumer, I'm basically Zoran Mamdani. I truly think that's how he thinks in his head.
I mean, that's I just find it, I think he can float whatever he wants out there. I think somebody who's in charge in the back is going to say, no, you're not, dude. Just fucking take a couple years, ice your wounds.
Yeah, and even though Chuck Schumer reads a lot older than Cuomo, there's only an 8-year age gap there, because Chuck Schumer's 75 and Cuomo is 67. That being said, I think there's a lot of aging that goes on between 67 and 75. But yeah. All right.
I think I don't, tell me if you think this is Teresa.
I saw this. She has like honey colored hair.
So is this it? Because it did say she hooked up with multiple men in the scene, right?
Oh, this guy's hot. Well, he's not that hot.
Are we thinking that's her?
I don't think that's her. I don't think that's her face. I mean, I don't know. 13 years. I guess it could be. She has bangs, but I don't. That didn't look like her. Let me pull up a picture again. I only looked at one blurry picture of her. This is hilarious.
What I was looking at is I googled
no, look at her eyes. Like, Teresa Crossland's eyes are different, and eyes don't really change very much. Her eyes are wider, like are wider set, and also her teeth are specific. That's not her.
Okay. Well, this said the thing that I read said that Jenna, who was identified as Teresa Crossland, was on season 5, episode 2.
All right.
But no, this is not. No, this is what she looked like in the show.
Yeah.
So that's not her for sure.
Yeah. I see a nude scene. Like it's like she actually didn't age that much. She still looks pretty the same. You can pull it up on a Google search. Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Does it say the episode number?
Wait. No. All right. I don't want to take too much time on this. All right. Let's get on with the show. But it did happen. If you have Paramount Plus, hit us up. Although we just kind of scanned through it.
If you have Paramount Plus Premium, hit us up.
Sorry. Paramount Plus
Regular
Premium.
Paramount Plus does nothing for us.
This is nothing for the low budget show that we have. So yeah, the biggest story of the week, my main story of the week, actually was Zohran Mamdani and Donald Trump's meet cute. I'm calling it because they're apparently obsessed with each other. So this is from CNN Inside the Room. What happened during Trump and Mamdani's meeting? They talked real estate, debated complicated zoning code, and mulled over how to get a utility giant to bring down electricity rates. Then they talked about what it takes to build housing in America's largest city and how the health of the 5 boroughs hinges on the streets being safe. Those were some of the topics New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani and President Donald Trump covered during a nearly hour-long meeting at the White House last week. That's a lot to cover in an hour. Okay. Mamdani, who arrived in Washington, D.C. for a sit-down Friday, made his way through the West Wing of the White House alongside 3 top aides, Senior Advisor Morris Katz, Press Secretary Dora Pakek, and his Chief of Staff, L. Biscard Church, according to a person familiar with the meeting. When it was finally time to enter the Oval, only Biscard Church was invited. Inside was Trump and his own Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Our conversation focused on New York City, and I think that is a point of shared focus, Mamdani told CNN on Sunday. A point of shared admiration for the city that we both call home and a city that is in danger of becoming a museum where working people once were. The meeting then turned into a tour with Trump taking Mamdani into the cabinet room, which overlooks a now paved over rose garden. The room is also home to Franklin D. Roosevelt's presidential portrait. Mamdani and Trump posed in front of the painting. Trump flashed a smile and posed with his signature thumbs up. Mamdani clasped his hands and offered a faint smile, yielding a new image. 3 men from New York who have shaken politics in their own ways. And then everyone, on Mamdani talk was going crazy because they're like, oh my God, Zohran got him to pose in front of the FDR painting. He got him. He planned that. FDR was our most socialist president. And I was like, all right, this is just continuing the trend of anything Zohran does is the most strategic and most amazing thing of all time. And he can do no wrong. Yes.
Well, I was going to ask what president ordered the paving of the Rose Garden, because that's crazy. How is that not the biggest takeaway from that article? The presidential Rose Garden has been paved over? By whom?
By whom?
Who gave that order? I also saw something great the other day. It was like it was some woman who like has a massive history in like marketing and PR stuff, and she was like, "Oh, so you're telling me that the right wing, the rich right wing populist and the rich left wing populist, who both had rousing visions for how to restore the glory of the American people, got along?" It's like both of these guys' whole job is just to convince you, to placate you that the system might actually help you at some point so that you don't burn everything down. And I was like, okay, I can kind of get behind that takeaway from this meeting.
And it was Trump who paved over the Rose Garden.
What a scumbag. Like, the dude just doesn't quit.
Yeah. July 24th, 2025, Town and Country magazine. President Trump has paved over the White House Rose Garden. I love how bad of a president do you have to be when Town and Country magazine gets political because you did something so aesthetically displeasing. That's really funny. It was back to the CNN article. It was a great honor meeting Zohran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City. Trump posted on Truth Social on Friday, sharing photos of the two after the meeting. When the doors opened to allow cameras into the room, Trump heaped praise on Mamdani, suggesting he and the man he often falsely referred to as a communist actually had quite a bit in common. This guy, I will say, Trump was smiling from ear to ear in a way that I've never seen him. When the press asked Mamdani if, do you still consider Trump to be a fascist? And he kind of like didn't really know how to answer because he didn't want to, he was standing next to the fascists, so he didn't want to like say it right to his face. Even he's not that bold. And then Trump, kind of laughs and he, just like does a playful hit to his arm, and he goes, you could say it. And then Mom Donnie's like, yes, I do. Like that was, I was like, they're a fucking comedy duo now. Some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have, Trump said while sitting at his desk as Mom Donnie stood beside him. We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. It was a surprisingly positive ending to a high-stakes meeting between two diametrically opposed politicians who have spent several months trading barbs. I can only take one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, Mom Donnie told CNN on Sunday. All I hoped to do in that conversation was to establish a working relationship and to have a productive meeting that focused on the work itself, focused on the people that many of the two of us know and people across these 5 boroughs that we never met. Immigration was a key topic. Mom Donnie told CNN he spoke to Trump about immigration during their meeting, with the looming question of whether the president will ramp up his immigration crackdown in New York like he has in some other blue cities. But even without that, the presence of federal officers and enforcement action is being felt across the city's immigrant communities. Advocates have reported an uptick in apprehensions and targeted operations. In response, immigrant rights organizations have started to organize, distributing Know Your Rights pamphlets and training citizen patrols to spot immigration and customs enforcement activity and alert people who may be at risk. While Mom Donnie would not say whether Trump agreed to not increase immigration enforcement in the city, he said he told the president New York City law enforcement is willing to collaborate with the federal government as long as it stays within the existing parameters. New York's sanctuary city rules say local law enforcement are only required to collaborate with federal agencies on immigration enforcement only when people convicted of violent or serious crimes are involved. The concern comes from beyond those crimes, Mom Donnie said. The many New Yorkers who are being arrested, they're being detained, they're being deported for the crime of showing up to a regular court appearance at 26 Federal Plaza for the crime of simply being present in New York City. Trump has previously said he did not believe immigration action had gone far enough when he was asked about officers violently detaining people inside courtrooms and on city streets. On Saturday, the president appeared to back down from his previous threats to send federal reinforcements into New York City, telling reporters he would do so only if the city needs it. Mom Donnie would not tell CNN on Sunday whether the president agreed with him on how to handle immigration enforcement in the city. I'll let the president speak for himself, but I did make very clear that our focus comes back to public safety, Mom Donnie said, knowing that there may be disagreements between the president and myself, and there will continue to be, and I will always make the case for each and every person that calls this city home. Well, okay. Some Jewish people would disagree based on something that happened this week, but it was interesting.
What happened?
Oh, you didn't see there was the protesters. I gotta put this. wasn't even going to go over this.
Are you talking about the thing that happened in my neck of the woods? Malba?
No, I thought this was in Manhattan, but let me see. So
I don't know. I know Fox News was running some crazy thing about some riot that happened.
Yeah, no, this was Manhattan. So, yeah, it was. So basically, there was a where was this? It was in Manhattan. Yeah, it's Park East, Manhattan's Park East Synagogue. So they were hosting an event, right? And when I initially read the headlines, it was bad because there was some pretty messed up language being used by protesters. And then there were counter protesters present who were like, I'm proud to be a Zionist. So this is on East 67th Street in New York. So Upper East Side, which is where I thought it was, a lot of Jewish happenings on the Upper East Side. But then, and Jewish New Yorkers were enraged because Zohran didn't really condemn it besides being like, yeah, I told people to please not use the language that was used in this protest. That's all he said, and people were pretty pissed off by that. But I got to be honest, I looked into it because I thought it was just people protesting outside of Jewish people worshiping in a synagogue. And I was like, well, that's really fucked up. And that's really a problem. And if this is how he responded to that, that's a problem. But before reacting, I did what I ask everyone to do, which is look into it further. And it was not just a regular night or day of worship at the synagogue. Manhattan's Park East Synagogue was specifically hosting an event for the nonprofit Nefesh B'Nefesh, which is called Soul to Soul, which offers information about Jews moving to Israel, making Aliyah. And so while, they should be able to do that, the protest made a lot more sense because of what they were protesting outside, right? So it's like, no matter what Zohran says, we all know he doesn't think that Israel has the right to exist. And that's actually like fine. That's his viewpoint. And I gotta be honest, I would rather have someone be consistent in their viewpoint and hold strong to their morals and beliefs, even if I don't agree with them, than to be wish-washy once you become an elected official. So once I read more into what they were actually protesting, because again, if they were just protesting Jews' right to congregate in a synagogue, yeah, that would be fucking crazy, and everyone should be alarmed and loud about it. But they were specifically protesting an event where they're telling more Jews from America to move to Israel. And there are many people who don't agree that Israel should exist. So I thought this was fair. And I thought Zohran's response was fair. I got to be honest.
What makes you think Zohran thinks Israel shouldn't exist?
I mean, he doesn't.
Everything I've heard him say has been it should exist, but as a state with.
Because you gotta say that. I don't think.
Okay, let me finish.
I understand. Like what I understand. I was fucking part of the race again. I'm not.
A state with equal rights is a reasonable expectation to put on any country that claims to be a democracy.
It is, but I don't think behind closed doors he really feels that way. No. And I'm not holding that against him.
No,
his mayorship of New York has nothing to do with this, really.
I mean, it would be significantly better for the Palestinians living there if there was a one-state solution with equal rights, which is what he has called for publicly multiple times. And that seems to be the actual third rail issue that a lot of Zionists have, because they don't want it to be a place that has equal protections under the law. They want it to be a theocracy that claims to be a democracy.
Right, but in debates, I believe he was directly asked, do you believe Israel has the right to exist?
No.
And
do you believe Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state? To which he said, I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Was that his actual answer?
That was his actual answer.
Because I believe I thought that he went around it and kind of answered it in a way where he didn't actually have to answer yes or no to the question.
He answered it in a way where he did not answer whether or not it should exist as a Jewish state.
He didn't have to answer yes or no. Yeah. Yeah, so that was correct, right?
No,
yeah.
he said, I believe Israel has the right to exist. They said, yes or no, do you think Israel has the right to exist as a Jewish state? He said, I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Right, but as a Jewish, so he just believes that it can exist as a place called Israel. Again, I don't want this the whole episode to be about this. It's
saying that a place that claims to be a democracy should uphold the laws, values, and regulations of a democracy.
Kind of not relevant.
Crazy.
But again, not. I just don't want to get into this because it's this is the topic that's been talked about for fucking 3 years, and it's not relevant to being mayor of New York City. But what is relevant to being New York City is how you respond to protests where people are using really hateful language. And all I'm saying is people were up in arms about how Donnie responded. I looked into it and I go, I actually side with Donnie on this one. I think his response was completely fine to what was going down. All right. And then just there was a couple more articles about this meeting between Zohran and Trump. This New York Times article. Why is this telling me they can't find the fucking server? What are we talking about here? 1 second. All right, so this one goes, why can't this one find the server? Because New York Times did an entire episode basically about how entire article about how podcasts and social media people responded, which I thought was kind of an interesting take. Why can't this Donnie Trump, sorry, this link isn't working anymore. Bannon, New York Times. It's not letting me go to this. Can you this article is called Donnie's meeting with Trump scrambled the MAGA sphere. It's just telling me that they can't find the server, but every other place, every other article is loading. That's so annoying. All right. Well, we'll go on to the Reason.com article. So this is from Reason.
I got it.
Okay.
Do you want me to just bring it up on the screen?
Yeah, it won't go for me.
Okay.
I don't know why. Okay, so Mamdani's meeting with Trump scrambled the MAGA sphere. Prominent conservative influencers had different interpretations as they processed the meeting on podcasts and in social media posts. It was a break the internet moment, if there ever was one, unpredictable, at times perplexing and rich, with the kinds of surreal moments social media feeds on. After Friday's meeting between President Trump and Zohran Mamdani, the mayor-elect of New York, certain corners of the internet did in fact appear to be broken, or at least temporarily off-kilter, including the sprawling online ecosystem that has emerged from the Make America Great Again movement. This raucous hive, which tends to hype up every win by the president, was uncharacteristically muted in response to the meeting with Mr. Mamdani. What was supposed to be a socialist showdown, in the words of a Fox News chyron, was instead filled with smiles, good vibes, and the president's endorsement of Mr. Mamdani's leadership. I feel very confident, you scroll too fast, that he can do a very good job, Mr. Trump told reporters. With no ideological confrontation to rally around, political influencers and commentators associated with the MAGA movement struggled to summon a unified response. The diverging reactions across the conservative spectrum, from longstanding Trump loyalists, widely read anonymous posters, and users representing the young America First wing, underscored the divisions and infighting roiling the right. Many of the MAGA faithful opted for a more tentative approach, spotlighting the president's softer side. One influential white nationalist account argued that Mr. Trump was sparing Mr. Mamdani a public humiliation. No, he wasn't. That's not why. Another post making the rounds by a pro-Trump YouTuber suggested the interaction between the two men was proof of the president's sense of humor. Some of the movement's most authoritative voices, like Tucker Carlson, had yet to weigh in as of Sunday afternoon. Even the president's own clip account on X, Rapid Response 47, a reliable booster of all things Trump, opted to ignore Friday's sit-down altogether. Since his primary victory, Mr. Mamdani has been the target of a steady stream of attacks by broad swaths of the right. Branding him an anti-Semitic socialist, Republicans routinely sounded the alarm on his platforms and ridiculed what they said were radical stances on issues like Israel and policing. And as recently as June, Mr. Trump called Mr. Mamdani a communist lunatic in a post on Truth Social, a label that has echoed throughout right-wing podcasts and media. Mr. Mamdani has condemned what he calls Mr. Trump's fascist agenda, a label Mr. Trump let the mayor-elect off the hook for during Friday's meeting. Nick Fuentes, the 27-year-old white nationalist who has emerged in recent months as the MAGA movement's chief antagonist, seemed to revel in the disarray set off by Friday's meeting. A frequent critic of Mr. Trump and his acolytes in the Republican establishment, Mr. Fuentes has called for a total immigration ban and for the administration to cut ties with Israel. He characterized the Republicans' hostile stance toward Mr. Mamdani as political theater. I mean, you know, I think... the hostile. I mean, I think that this meeting in and of itself was political theater. Like, there's no way that after everything that Donald Trump has done, how we're just going to take this meeting at face value. And I think that if you are, you're crazy. To Mr. Fuentes, the meeting only underscored the political hypocrisy of the MAGA movement's leadership in Washington and its prominent voices online. It's kayfabe. It's all a soap opera.
Kayfabe.
Kayfabe, sorry. It's kayfabe. It's all a soap opera, Mr. Fuentes said during a stream of his America First program on Friday evening. They don't believe anything they're peddling. One immediate winner to emerge from the encounter has been Jack Posobiec, a far-right podcaster and activist who was recently credentialed as a member of the White House press pool. Well, that's good to know. As Mr. Trump and Mr. Mamdani fielded questions from reporters, Mr. Posobiec pressed the mayor-elect on his campaign's policy proposals, asking whether Mr. Mamdani intended to increase property taxes for, quote, white people in New York City, which was never something that he said, and you're making that up. No, we intend to create a fair property tax system, Mr. Mamdani answered. Yes, Mike. Did he say, you think he said at white people specifically?
He did say that we are going to target white neighborhoods predominantly with the new tax plan. So
where did he say that?
He said it in the clarification to Mr. Pasabic that they're conveniently leaving out of this New York Times interview.
Where was that posted?
I mean, I'll pull up the video because it's I can't because it's up here now, but I'll pull it up after. I mean, you can see Jack Pasabic's whole face fucking hit the floor when Mamdani's talking.
Because that would be weird to say. Because I mean, like basically, I mean, or is his argument that it happens that the highest tax brackets in New York City happen to be predominantly white neighborhoods? Because that would make sense.
Yeah, no, that was that was where the back and forth eventually got to. It was like, yes, we are going to tax white neighborhoods, but because they are, the richest neighborhoods.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's just you can't call the whole thing a fallacy.
No, for sure. But I'm like, okay, let's get to what the truth actually is here. And it's like the reason is you're not taxing the white neighborhoods because they are inhabited by white people. You are taxing those neighborhoods because that's where the chunks of wealth exist in New York City.
Yeah, that is what a fair tax would look like.
Yeah, fine.
It's just that it's going to affect more white people. So guys like Jack Pasabic are like,
Sure. This skirmish earned Mr. Pasabic plaudits from those hungry for a show of resistance. Benny Johnson, a conservative commentator, and Andrew Colvett, the spokesman for the conservative group Turning Point USA, each praised Mr. Pasabic for going toe-to-toe with Mr. Mamdani. This is how it's done, Mr. Johnson wrote on X. One critique came from one of Mr.
Sorry, I had to look at that picture of Laura Loomer because
why?
Because who knows what she's gonna look like day to day, and I want to.
She looks okay in that picture.
That's what I'm saying. I was shocked.
Yeah, one critique came from one of Mr. Trump's most loyal backers, the far-right activist Laura Loomer. On X, Ms. Loomer wrote that it was wild to see a quote jihadist communist stand in the Oval Office, referring to Mr. Mamdani. She quickly clarified in another post, however, that she was not condemning the president. The varied response to Mr. Trump's reception of Mr. Mamdani is the latest look at the political fractures dividing the movement. In recent weeks, the infighting over the release of the Epstein files, anti-Semitism, support for Israel, and the continued debate about cost of living have plagued the party. Meanwhile, Mr. Fuentes continues to expand his influence as a Trump critic, becoming one of the leading voices for young conservatives. As MAGA's online communities oscillated, much of the rest of social media reveled in a deviation from the usual political script. Reach for comment, a spokesperson for Mr. Mamdani noted, what I thought was so interesting is how quickly my left-leaning algorithm was like, well, could look past all the awfulness that Donald Trump has done and be like, well, he's, even he, bad guy that he is, recognizes like how great how great Zohran is. And it's like, I said to a friend of mine who's pretty politically involved, in passing, I was like, yeah, it was interesting. I don't really trust Donald Trump. He certainly did seem smitten with Zohran, but I don't trust him at face value. And at this point, I think that it's crazy too. The same man who told us we weren't doing Project 2025 and he didn't know anything about it. Okay. I understand what Zohran's doing. I do not fault him for it. I think this is like the move that you make if you want to get your policies to go through as fast as possible in New York City. But I got to be honest, like I think that if I were the mayor-elect, I would have trouble not meeting with him, but like posing with him, smiling with him, smiling next to him, shaking his hand. And my friend was like, said to me, she goes, well, you just have to. It's called diplomacy. And I was like, number one, thank you. I know what diplomacy means. But secondly, my rebuttal to that is, with a campaign like Zohran Mamdani's, where you did everything in a new way, do you have to engage in diplomacy to get things done? Do you have to ultimately shake the hands of a man who raped a 13-year-old girl? And like for a campaign that did everything, so non-traditionally, that won, that against all odds won and mobilized the people of New York City and did all these things that people said were impossible, why now do we stop at the Oval Office? Why do we stop preaching that, preaching. Why all of a sudden does preaching that we can do the unthinkable and that we can live ethically, why all of a sudden does that come to a screeching halt when it comes to the doors of the Oval Office? I just don't buy it and I don't believe it. And yes, I agree that this is the easiest, fastest way to get things done is to, make a deal with Trump daddy. But again, like if we're talking about doing things ethically and if I just don't know how I could sit there and shake this hand and touch this man and pose and smile with this man in a world where any single person who, is photographed smiling and standing next to Jeffrey Epstein, is taken out to slaughter, how I could do that. And please don't tell me that that's the only way, because Zohran Mamdani just proved that we can think outside of the box and we can be better people. So again, why does this stop here? And why do we have to engage in diplomacy with the president? Again, I'm not saying of course it's easier. Of course of course you don't want to step into Gracie Mansion at war with, one of the most difficult presidents of all time. But please don't tell me that's the only way to get things done, because now we know that you don't have to do bad things to get elected. And you don't, and I guess we'll see if you have to do bad things to get your policy to go through. That's TBD, But that response, from someone who is a big Zohran supporter, who did work to get Zohran Mamdani elected, it just kind of pissed me off. Because I go, we were thinking outside the box until now? Like, no, fuck off. I really still believe, and maybe I'm naive, but I believe that you can run a clean campaign and you can sit in office and keep it clean for 4 to 8 years. I think, and again, if there's going to be more work, fuck yeah, it's going to be more work. But that's why, we elected a 34-year-old. All right, do it. Anyway, that's my monologue. That's been weighing on me all week. And I was like, I just, please don't tell me that, maybe I shouldn't be in politics if I can't shake hands and smile and pose with a rapist. Fuck you. Okay, go back. Reach for comment, as spokesperson for Mr. Mamdani, noted how the president bonded with the mayor-elect over issues of affordability and their stature as political outsiders. Mr. Trump also spoke approvingly on Friday of another establishment outsider, Senator Bernie Sanders, adding that he and Mr. Sanders, too, agreed on much more than people thought. Mr. Mamdani's spokeswoman, Dora Pakek, wrote in a statement that the vast majority of Americans are deeply frustrated with a rigged economy and a broken political system. She added, while the mayor-elect shared his many disagreements with the president, they agreed on tackling the affordability crisis that is crushing New Yorkers. Still, many on the right refuse to view the day's events as a political capitulation. Stephen K. Bannon, who served as chief strategist for a time during Mr. Trump's first administration and remains a confidant to the president, was one of the lone figures trying to shape the perception of the day's events during a live stream of Mr. Bannon's podcast War Room, where he was joined by Mr. Pasabik. He briefly theorized that Mr. Trump's Buddy Act was, in fact, a strategic trap. Listen, one would think, and I certainly am, again, I'm not taking it at face value. That being said, I don't think that Trump is that great of an actor, and he was like cooing about, he was smiling ear to ear. He's going to boost Mr. Mamdani, whose policies will crater the city. Mr. Bannon said Trump will let him collapse because he's a Marxist jihadist. My other thought was like, did Mamdani do something super strategic? Like, did he walk into that room with some crazy intel that he had his transition team dig up on Trump? I don't know that his transition team is high level enough to get that kind of information if no one else has gotten it at this point. Was there some kind of a financial deal? That Mamdani laid on the table is because, nothing makes Trump smile more than, money, something like that. These are just ideas that I was tossing around, right? Because the smile did seem authentic, but the smile could be because something else was laid on the table, As the pair recapped the Oval Office encounter, an undercurrent of jealousy toward the budding bromance seemed to peek through. How could MAGA's implacable leader be smitten with a Muslim socialist? Perhaps it was Mr. Mamdani's disarming happy talk and charm, he is a Libra, as Mr. Pasabik suggested. Whatever it was, they agreed it was a blatant act of political seduction by Mr. Mamdani. That little smile, Mr. Pasebik said, shaking his head. It's not a smile, Mr. Bannon replied. It's a smirk. And that's interesting. And listen, I don't really believe much of what Steve Bannon has to say. That being said, your friends know how to read you, or people who were previously really close to you know how to read you. So if Steve Bannon's saying that's not a smile, that's a smirk, I would actually listen to Steve Bannon on that. That to me says Trump is, and what I said as someone who's not a friend or an expert in reading these, social cues of Donald Trump, the first thing I said is he got something out of that. And it certainly was something more than that he was charmed by Zohran, like the liberals on my fucking feed were like, oh my God, just Zohran can wit in the underwear of anyone. Guys, fucking hold yourself together. I heard a quote this week from someone that was like, Democrats vote for a boyfriend, Republicans vote for a daddy. I had never heard that before. It's similar to when my friend said to me, politics is the entertainment business for ugly people. A lot of sayings that I have never heard before coming out of the woodwork. But I was like, that is so true. And that's, we talked about that either last week or a couple weeks ago about how I was just so annoyed that people had to turn, fucking Zoran's campaign into some kind of weird layout from Tiger Beat magazine. It's like, can we just elect someone because we think they would be a fucking competent leader, not because you want to fuck them?
Let's not forget the Cuomo-sexuals.
Good Lord. They pissed me off too. And I'm on record as saying that. That shit pissed me off then too. It's been pissing me off the whole fucking time. When they did it to Obama, it also pissed me off. Pisses me off every single fucking time. We are not voting for someone who we think would be the most pleasing to look at. Nikita Dumptruck, great follow on Instagram. She did a whole thing this week. She did a video on does the country run better when we have a hotter president? And she went to like Obama, Bill Clinton, JFK, and her thesis, her ultimate conclusion, not her thesis, her ultimate conclusion based on research was that no, the country doesn't really fare any better when we have a hot leader, but that because we're so fucking dumb here, that Americans have the perception that things are going better when we have a hot leader, which is actually worse. So please, you think because he's a politician you like that he's not just a man? Oh my God, I'm going to pull my hair out of my head. All right.
That being said, George Hart probably would have been the best president. And he got shut down for being too hot.
Why do you think he would have been the best president?
Because he I don't know. I mean, he was a Democrat who wasn't Clinton.
Oh. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it was at a time.
Did he have swag in the same way?
Yeah. I mean, he was, I think he was like a California golden boy.
I'm looking him up young.
His whole thing was
he's cute. He's not that cute.
He was, I mean, for a politician.
I like his hair.
He got caught cheating on his wife. And that was like the first time that like reporters were sitting on a story going,
oh, theme of that presidency, apparently.
It wasn't a presidency.
I'm saying of the time.
It was the run.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, yes, Mike, thank you. I know George Hart was never president.
But
is that what you just tried to tell me on my show? That George Hart was never president? Are you being serious right now?
Regardless, he was the front runner for president. And he got shut down because he had an affair situation. It was the first time reporters were like, do we go to print with it? I mean, this is a guy's marriage we're messing up here. And it was a real ethics question for the reporters, and they ended up running the story, and that tanked his presidency. But yeah, I mean, pretty much literally that happened right before I was born, right? Like 84 or something?
88. So
88? Yeah, so it would have been the Dukakis spot.
Wait, and his name was Gary Hart.
Whatever. What did I say?
You said George.
Whatever. George Gary. I knew it was a G.
Gary Hart in 1988. But when Clinton didn't become president?
No, that
90s.
was Bush Dukakis.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, all right, so.
Because I was like, I don't really remember that very much, but it makes sense because it was 1988, so I was 3.
Right.
And the scandal actually happened in 1987, so I was 2. I'll ask my mom about that, though. That'll be a good topic for Thanksgiving.
That was massive. And that's a definite instance of like, all right, that was the very good-looking Democratic option. Mm-hmm. And it probably would have got, I mean, it's not like H.W. Bush won by a landslide.
Right. All right, so let's close out this episode with this last piece from Reason on the meet cute. Mamdani understands something about Trump that European leaders don't. This is by Matthew Petty. Trump respects outreach from opponents more than submissive flattery from friends. I will say I definitely agree with the observation that the flattery with Trump will get you nowhere, because it's like he'll keep you in his circle for a little while. And I think ultimately, like any great villain, he will lose respect for you if you're constantly flattering him and doing his bidding. Does he respect outreach from opponents? Well, I would, maybe, initially he respects it, but ultimately, anyone who is disloyal to him or goes against what he says, he also makes their life a living hell. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but let's see what Matthew Petty has to say. The spectacle of last week was the meeting between President Donald Trump and New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. 2 politicians been going after each other for months. Trump, who had called Mamdani a communist lunatic during the mayoral election, now declared Mamdani a very rational person. When journalists asked Mamdani about his past attacks on Trump's fascist agenda, the president beamed, patted Mamdani, and asked, "That's okay," and added, "That's okay, you can just say it." In some ways, the encounter resembled Trump's meeting with the new Syrian president Ahmad al-Sharaa in May 2025. Young, attractive guy, tough guy, strong past, very strong past, fighter, Trump said of al-Sharaa, former head of al-Qaeda in Syria.
Jesus.
They put some gold bars on the table or something. It was also a
Syria? No. What are you talking about? We greenlit them taking over the country. So they've been like United States operatives for the last 6 months or so.
Yes, I know. But I also think in all these instances, Trump is personally getting something out of all of these things because he doesn't care about America.
I don't know. Israel got Golan Heights out of the Syria war, and I think that was enough payment for both sides.
It was also a throwback to Trump's first-term outreach to North Korea.
Did you see, by the way, he asked the guy how many wives he's got?
I missed that.
It's a real thing. He said, "How many wives you got?" He said, "Just one?" Huh, never know with you guys. It's a real quote from our president.
No, wow, Trump 2028. It was also a throwback to Trump's first-term outreach to North Korea. After threatening the country with fire and fury, he had a series of meetings with its leader, Kim Jong-un, who Trump came to praise as a very honorable negotiating partner. Other leaders often take Trump as a sucker for flattery. Since he's apparently willing to bury the hatchet with a few kind words, the thinking goes, those words must be the secret to appeasing him. It rarely works because Trump is good at smelling weakness, but he respects strength. Trump accepts outreach from former enemies, domestic opponents, or foreign warlords because he enjoys the feeling that he has tamed a dangerous beast. With Trump, flattery is ultimately counterproductive. In the short term, it avoids a public clash and may even help limit punishment in the form of tariffs or public criticism. In the longer term, far from buying respect, it earns his disdain and encourages the assumption that allies will cave on policy, former Biden administration official Philip Gordon wrote in the Financial Times last week. Perhaps nothing has illustrated this principle better than Trump's relationship with Europe. In a bid to keep American military aid to Ukraine flowing, European leaders have practiced their best flattery skills. In June 2025, North Atlantic Treaty Organization Secretary General Mark Rutte creepily called Trump daddy. In August 2025, a group of European leaders crowded around Trump's desk while he reclined in his chair like supplicants before a king. Humiliation begets humiliation. Over and over again, Trump has insulted Europe and made it clear that negotiations for the future of Ukraine will happen over the Europeans' heads. He has demanded a cut from Ukraine's natural resources and pushed the European Union to take a lopsided trade deal that puts tariffs on European products while exempting American ones. Other allies have tried and failed with the same approach. Asian leaders showered Trump with praise and gifts during his last visit to the region. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takahashi promised to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize, and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung gave Trump a literal golden crown. That didn't stop Trump from tariffing Japan into an economic contraction and extracting a $350 billion ransom from South Korea to avoid the same fate. Contrast that with Mexico and Canada, two small countries in America's shadow. Early in his second term, Trump announced blanket tariffs against both of them. He accused Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum of allying with gangsters and even threatened to annex Canada. Rather than trying to appease the U.S. president, Mexico and Canada immediately hit back with tariffs of their own. Ontario, the province of Canada with the most to lose, struck a daredevil tone. If they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do anything, including cutting off their energy with a smile on my face, Ontario Premier Doug Ford said at a press conference. They need to feel the pain.
Hell yeah.
Trump ended up softening and delaying the tariff increases on Mexico and Canada. Well, and again, like that's more like it's like, okay, you can just be like, fuck you. Trump this weekend,
There's nothing a bully hates more than a fight.
See? Just this weekend, he blew through a self-imposed deadline to tariff Canada, which Trump had announced in retaliation for Ford taking out an anti-tariff ad. And he hasn't followed through on his threats to expand the drug war by bombing Mexico. Sheinbaum, a left-wing leader who has declared that Mexicans will never bow our heads to America, enjoys a strangely warm relationship with Trump. You're tough, Trump told Sheinbaum during a private March 2025 phone call, adding in public that he would suspend tariffs out of respect for his very good relationship with Sheinbaum. Mom Donnie, who has threatened to block... Yes?
All right.
What?
You don't want to hear this. Forget it. My bad.
Mom Donnie, who has threatened to block immigration and customs enforcement raids and arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, clearly benefited from the same respect for strength. Despite the huge leverage that the federal government holds over New York City, the mayor-elect came out swinging. He promised in his victory speech to be Trump's worst nightmare and show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him. Yeah, okay, so what about this meeting? What shows Mom Donnie being Trump's worst nightmare when they're posing... and Trump has to playfully jab at him to enable him to have the strength to call him a fascist in front of him. It looked a lot more serious than Trump's other domestic opposition. At the beginning of the second Trump administration, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had whimpered, "It's their government. What leverage do we have?" The same week that Mamdani was readying his followers for confrontation, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was surrendering to Republicans on the government shutdown while begging them to see the light of reason. So it shouldn't be much of a surprise that Trump treated Mamdani as an equal and heaped contempt on Schumer. Of course, personal respect from Trump is not enough to totally derail a hostile agenda. Mexico and Canada still suffered from some tariff increases, and the risk of bluster is having to back it up. Mamdani and Trump still have substantive zero-sum disagreements that will force them to fight. But even if resistance has its downsides, groveling clearly does not work. Groveling shouldn't have never even been on the table, nor do I think it was, unless you're Andrew Cuomo. European and Asian leaders have thrown away a strong hand by preemptively signaling their intent to surrender. Mexico and Canada's leaders avoided the worst outcome by playing a weak hand with strength. In a palace full of sycophants, the way to win the king's respect is with defiance. Again, we're calling defiance giggling as the president says, "You can call me a fascist, honey." Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, that's the thoughts. It certainly was interesting to watch. I'm interested to see how this goes down. I hope that we can, keep ICE and terrible things, mostly out of New York City, and that Mamdani has a super successful mayorship. I really do hope that is the case, and that Donald Trump doesn't try to do terrible things to us and retaliate, because he wishes New Yorkers liked him more and we don't. Yeah. All right. So that is our show for today. Thank you so much for watching, for contributing. If you want to send me anything, it's withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you are following me on Instagram. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Threads. I'm at Philanthropy Gal. Make sure you're following Mike at Them Harrington. He's so close to 10K. I want you to get you to 10K. I've been watching that. And if you want to give someone a really cool Christmas gift, you can give them a Patreon membership to Without a Country, or you can treat yourself to that. And Mike, do you have anything that you need to promote?
Yeah, I got another anxiety attack coming up on December the 18th. So a week before Christmas, still in New York City. Head on over to East 4th Street, New York Comedy Club, 10 p.m. show. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, the truth is in there. Tennessee, if you are near the special election district, get out there. Appreciate you. Stay vigilant. Bye.